You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
The theme of this episode is themes. Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
I'm Toni.
And this is the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon.
Why do you always look at me after you say that? It is.
Because you usually say something witty.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you may be right. Today we're going to be talking about the fourth serial of the 22nd season of Doctor Who, The Two Doctors, which consists of 3 episodes that aired from February 16th, 1985 to March 2nd, 1985.
True facts!
And I want to give a special shout out to Matt Golden for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
Golden!
You can check him out at MatthewGolden.net. And I also want to give another little shout out to our newest Patreon patron, Brenna Duncan. She has her own podcast, which you can check out at youtube.com/TheBin Podcast. And that's BIN podcast.
It's really good that you specified that because that was not clear from the way you said it.
I was very excited. Do I have a podcast about me that I'm not on?
I can't pronounce... E's and I's are the same to me.
It's all vowels, really.
The Bin Podcast?
Speaking of the Bin Podcast, Ben Paddon is here.
Hello!
Hi, it's me. I'm Ben Paddon.
Oh, no! Oh, yeah, I've been recast and I've regenerated.
We have 2 Ben Paddons here, much of the way that we are talking about the 2 doctors. It just seemed, the thing to do.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. But one of the Ben Paddons is named Christine Cherry.
Hi.
I have no middle name this time. I couldn't think of anything.
You can think of a middle name? It's fine. I mean, it took me a while to think of a middle name. I have one now, but, it did take a bit.
I refuse to learn it, as I refuse to learn any of your middle names.
That's valid.
To me, because I didn't know that the fun middle name was a bit that you'd all been doing, so I just thought you couldn't remember Christine's last name. To me, that was just one, Christine! Cherry!
I want to say apple?
Yeah.
It's definitely some kind of fruit, for sure.
Christine Tangerine.
See, I like that as a middle name.
Yeah.
Christine Tangerine Cherry. Like you're a Kool-Aid flavor.
I am.
My favorite comedy middle name is always going to be Ulysses. Everyone's name sounds better if you use Ulysses as the middle name. Joseph Ulysses Heath. See?
That actually
That's
is
me.
really solid.
Christine Ulysses Cherry.
It doesn't have a ring, but I'll consider it. My name isn't legal yet. I was actually doing some work on that today, but I'll hold on to it.
So you still have time to make it Tangerine.
I still have time. I think if enough of your listeners wanted it to be Tangerine, I would still not make it be so. But I would be impressed that people care that much.
Can I make a pitch for a middle name?
Go ahead.
Pepsi Wild. Because then every time you have to fill out a form, the person who then reads that form is reminded that once upon a time, KFC sold Pepsi Wild Cherry.
Exactly.
I want to propose a middle name as well as some additions to your first name.
Okay.
Smells like Christine Spirit Cherry.
Okay. And what I like about that...
There's a part that you like about it. It's impressive.
What I like about that is that it's relevant. Not just to, me specifically, but to the current era that we're living in.
Yeah.
The J&T era.
Yeah. Way to segue.
Back to Doctor Who. Well, before we get into Doctor Who, we just bullshitted about names for a while, but how are y'all doing? Go both at the same time.
Okay,
Well,
I'm doing very well. I'm pretty good. We are incapable of speaking at the same time. I was just going to waffle. I thought we would just both go at exactly the same time and just talk over each other. And as a fun little comedy bit. And I think the thing that Joe likes about that is it means that he doesn't have to pay any attention to anything we're saying.
Exactly.
Oh no, I've been found out. Well, let's go one at a time. Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I just participated in a live stream with some comedy friends in the UK where we played the Tea Time game show Countdown whilst gently inebriated. And I lost.
Congratulations.
Your British fans will know what Countdown is. Your American fans can't count, so they won't know what we're talking about. But if you're American and you've got a BritBox subscription, just watch 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. It's basically the same thing.
As you losing?
Yeah, more or less.
Nice. And Christine, how about you? How you been doing?
I've been doing all right. It feels like it's been forever since I've been on the podcast. You've redecorated. I don't like it. But no, I've been good. I've been working on stuff. That's a lie. I haven't been working on stuff. But that's the sort of thing that you say when you're on a podcast.
Got a lot of projects on the go right now.
I got a lot of irons in the fire.
You've been working on your own podcast. That's something.
Yeah, my podcast still exists. I had a newsletter. I kind of don't anymore because the platform that it was on decided to be really transphobic. And I like to say that it made it difficult for me to keep doing my newsletter, and I regrettably stopped. But honestly, I was like, I had to do this every month. Now I don't have to do this anymore. Thank you, transphobes.
It's always nice when transphobes give back.
Exactly.
Because they take so much.
Well, I'm glad it sounds like everybody's doing pretty good.
Don't you want to know how I'm doing?
You're the co-host. Nobody cares.
Oh.
All right,
Toni, how are you doing?
Fine! I'm doing fine!
It also sounds like you might be turning into a Muppet.
That's their dream.
Fine!
No, I've been one
That's been one, yeah.
this whole time.
That does explain the felt. And the rods holding your hands up when you move your hands into shot on the camera.
And the
And
hand
the
in my
3
ass.
people just underneath you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that your entire apartment is built on top of an undercurrent system where people can climb under to operate Toni. What a horrible visual I've concocted. It's very smile time and I don't like it.
I will say it is impressive that you were able to get that in this housing market.
Well, we live in the South. It's weird here.
Yeah, it's true.
Was there anything else you wanted to add to how you're doing?
No, I just want to talk about Doctor Who now.
Oh, okay.
Let's do it.
I'm fine. I'm good.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Oh, God. Real bad.
Shut the fuck up. Let's talk about Doctor Who.
Hey, Doctor Who, how are you doing?
Not great.
Oh, yes, the JNT era.
Do y'all have titles, or is it just me? I've just called it a Scottish delicacy.
Paddon Fraser's Excellent Adventure kind of immediately springs to mind for this first part.
That is quite solid.
Chris, make one up.
Oh, okay.
No pressure.
Hey, Toni.
Yeah.
I love you very much.
Uh-oh.
The Two Doctors, episode 1.
Christine stole your bit.
Wow. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Do you have one?
No! Not...
What about Mo Doctors, Mo Problems?
That's a good one.
Oops, all doctors.
I think I have 3 titles for these episodes and for the serial as a whole that reflect my personal experience watching it and thinking about it, which is episode 1, this seems racist. Episode 2, actually no, it seems like there's a decent satire of racism going on here.
This is supposed to be racist.
And then episode 3, but also it's still kind of racist.
Separate from the satire is its own individual racism.
Yes. Those are my titles.
It's racism all the way down.
Nice. Well, you just spoiled all of your titles now.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's best to just get it out of the way at the front.
This podcast is pro spoilers.
Well, what happens in the episode is we start in black and white so that you know that this is the second Doctor. And it fades to color real quick, like a very abbreviated Wizard of Oz.
My favorite thing about this is it does this after we've already seen the Colin Baker title sequence. Who do they think they're fooling at this point?
I was fooled. I was like, oh no, I've put in the wrong episode. I was eventually clued in when we finally see 2 and Jamie up close, and
they're so
they
old.
hella old. Yeah.
They're so much older now.
I do think that Fraser Hines has aged well between 62 and 82. He's not aged well since, and I say this as a person that has gotten very close to the man.
Oh.
He's fine. He's got hair.
It's true.
Speaking of hair, why didn't they give Patrick Troughton a wig?
I know the answer to this one.
Oh, okay.
Because they wanted to imply that he had been having other adventures.
Oh.
But what does that mean?
Both this story and the Five Doctors are responsible for a piece of fan lore, fanon, if you will.
I will not.
I will not.
Well, you're going to have to. Called Season 6B, in which it's the idea that after the trial that happens at the end of the War Games, rather than immediately being regenerated, the Second Doctor was sent on a bunch of missions for the Celestial Intervention Agency. The idea is that the two Doctors and the Five Doctors both take place during this time period, because how would the Second Doctor and the Five Doctors have known that Jamie and Victoria's memories had been erased? Because he specifically cites that. They mention the Time Lords, and the Doctor says, well, you had your memories erased of the Time Lords. How would you know that? Good question, Patrick Troughton. And then there are novels and audio set in the Season 6B time period. Most notably, I think, World Game, which presents the quote-unquote uncensored version of the trial scene in which the Doctor is actively sentenced to death.
And also in this one, like, Jamie knows about Time Lords, and Jamie should not know about Time Lords.
They also mention Victoria in this scene. So does Victoria come back too?
The idea is that the Doctor was allowed to travel with one companion. Victoria was sent back and had her memories erased, and Jamie had his memory augmented so that he thought Victoria was just off taking her space SATs or whatever.
This is the dumbest fucking shit.
Yeah, that's Doctor Who in the 80s and 90s. People are latching onto any dumb thing.
What I love about this is that, like, Robert Holmes is a writer
What?
who, like, actively hates continuity.
Oh, yeah.
Who, like, actively hates continuity, and he's just like, I don't know, it just seemed like the thing that made the best sense for the story I wanted to tell. I don't care about lore. And, like, so he just keeps accidentally making lore. So you have all of these people determined to make things make sense when he's trying so hard to break the thing. Like, going so far as to the year 2020 in The Timeless Child. Like, doing its best to try to unbreak a thing that Robert Holmes broke.
I think the other part, like, and I hate to use this word because it does have other kind of fandom-associated contexts and definitions, but, like, the Holmesian approach to canon is there is no canon. But fans are like, but we have to make everything, it has to connect, it has to make sense. The butts have to touch in a way that is pleasing. It is, I have been arguing now for some time, canon is bad. Not just for Doctor Who, but generally. Star Trek canon, Red Dwarf canon, Superman canon, whatever just blow it all up. Unmoor stories from the rigid framework of canon. The Simpsons has no canon, other than there is a family and they are yellow. The Yellow family exists and they are unmoored, unstuck from time. Bart has been born and reborn dozens of times throughout the 80s and 90s. Lisa was born after the MASH finale, but Homer and Marge were married in the early 90s, and Homer was in a grunge band. They are unstuck. Let it be what it is. Are we still talking about Doctor Who?
I feel like I, as a person, have mixed feelings about canon. Because I agree with that broadly, but also think that there's a use to canon. The problem is I feel like the way that people talk about canon is in sort of like a world-building rules sense. What I'm kind of in favor of is something more like an emotional canon, because I always want to be able to track, like, characters, like, histories and backstories, so that I understand how they feel when they're being, like, put in new situations. Actually, speaking of Doctor Who, have I talked about this before? I don't remember. The specific example I always give about Doctor Who canon is the things that Big Finish did with Susan and the Meddling Monk made it so that a lot of really difficult, traumatic things happened in the relationship between these three people, so that if you brought either character back, you have to decide whether or not that those stories are canon, because it would have grave implications on the way that the Doctor reacted to meeting either of them again. And, like, if you like those stories, then you want to see that kind of emotionality upheld. And, like, if you don't like those stories, then you don't. And I think that's the kind of thing. And I think, honestly, that's the thing that deep down we actually want from canon, is this sense that, like, having a shared idea of, like, a past so we can understand and predict how characters are going to act in the future. And anything other than that is just useless.
I do think there's something fun about taking broken pieces and saying, you know, how do I connect those two things? As a game, as a puzzle for yourself. But when you get to the point where you're like, no, all of these things absolutely must be connected and all of these pieces must fit together, that's when you have stopped being any fun.
Also canon as gatekeeping, I'm not a big fan of.
Oh, yes, no. That is 100%. That is the thing that I think canon as a concept gets used for the most, and it's like the most like gross, heinous thing. Canon is useful when it helps you tell stories and not useful when it doesn't. And if you're telling stories because you want canon to make sense, that's like a bad thing. Don't do that. You're putting the cart before the horse there.
Timeless child.
So that's the opening shot of the two doctors.
It's fine. This is only what? This is 3 45-minute episodes. Like, it's a breeze. We'll get through it quickly.
Oh, that is one thing about this serial that I'm a little excited about, is the fact that this is the last classic Doctor Who serial of this length.
Yes.
The last one that is basically a 6-parter. And from here on out, it's 4-parters and less, baby. Smooth sailing.
Also, fun fact that is not fake, not a fake Ben fact, a real Ben fact. The TARDIS console that the second Doctor is using is Tom Baker's console. It's the pre-Five Doctors console, which they used to imply that it's, an older TARDIS.
Not 2's TARDIS specifically, because they didn't have it.
Oh, yeah, that console is gone. But the console they're using is specifically the console that was used up to what comes just before the Five Doctors. It's blanking. But yeah, the console that was used up to the end of season 20.
But much like the rest of the exposition in this scene, it's just like, close enough. Moving on.
Yeah, exactly. There's this sense that, like, we're gonna do this thing, but we're gonna half-ass it.
It's JNT being, the memory cheats. Peace! And using that as a justification to half-ass it.
Though there's a reference, right? The first things they say has been said before. That's a big one, right?
Yes, it is from like a season 5, season 6 story. Yes, Jamie, it's a big one. It's from episode 1 of the Faceless Ones.
Oh, we just watched that.
Yeah, you just watched that too.
I don't remember. Was he talking about a plane, I guess?
Possibly. Or could have been talking about a cock.
It's missing. How do we know?
And it's like, why? But why though? Why the Faceless Ones? It would even make sense if it was like, because the Faceless Ones is like a story about Ben and Polly leaving and then Victoria getting there, but also they're like, Victoria just like, what is that? I don't have a good answer to that. I'm just mad. I didn't know that.
I would say the Faceless Ones is the first second Doctor serial where 2 and Jamie really lock into their dynamic.
Yes.
That's true.
So maybe that's what they're trying to invoke, is that dynamic.
It also largely doesn't exist.
Those two actors really enjoy each other's company and kind of really like playing off of each other. So why would you want to just let them do their thing, write new dialogue for them, which they do after the It's a Big One line. Like, they're great together.
Let them cling to each other physically.
The diplomatic skills line I thought was really funny, where the Doctor's basically like, we're going to this meeting, let me do all the talking and I will wow them with my diplomatic skills. And like Jamie says word for word what he's saying at the exact same time. Like, we've had this conversation 30 billion times. And also, I know you're going to fuck it up real big.
They're so married.
They are.
They're so married.
So they head into a new location. This whole thing doesn't take place in 2's TARDIS.
It should.
And we meet a character named Shock-Eye, who is also somewhat Scottishly clad for some reason.
He's a funny cannibal.
Yeah, he wants to buy and eat Jamie.
Well, who doesn't? Look at them shanks.
I'm pretty sure there's conventions you can do that at.
That's why we keep going back to Hulanta.
I don't think they're inviting Frasier to conventions anymore. I think he just shows up. He's only missed like one Gallifrey one in the last 14, 15 years, I think.
He's just got a Google alert.
Yeah. I say that with love. I have a little love for Frasier, warts and all.
Speaking of warts, that's what Shock-Eye has all over his face.
Yeah.
They are made out of Rice Krispies.
Yes, they are. It's great.
They're what?
They are Rice Krispies glued to this man's face. In the scenes later on in Seville, they were melting off like crazy because it was so hot. So they'd have to go, cut, hold on, and then glue Rice Krispies back to this man's face.
That's amazing.
That poor Scripty.
Fun fact, the actor who plays Shock-Eye, his name is John Stratton, also handled Crafty for the show. So He was the crafts table.
People just come up and get some Rice Krispies right off his face.
Yeah, just a little. This is good. Oh, nice. Yeah, using a different marshmallow for this one. Yeah, it's good. It's very nice. Oh, chocolate chips.
It's appropriate that he has Rice Krispies on his face because his species is obsessed with food.
They are androgums, which is an anagram for gourmand, the cleverness of Robert Holmes.
Yeah, you couldn't go to anagrams.com to generate an anagram. You had to come up with one on your own.
Also, there's a funny scene where 2 threatens Shockeye with a cucumber that he thought was a knife. There's some good comedy in this one.
Physical comedy. Shot like a soap opera. I feel like if this had been a Second Doctor story, the camera setups would have been more intricate and involved and interesting. Whereas this is shot like a soap, basically. There's no interesting camera placements in this scene at all.
I do think the soap opera element, look to it, does help it a little bit when we get to the portion that I call the telenovela. So, 2 and Jamie go off to a meeting. We discover that Shockeye has poisoned a lot of food. And we also meet, I'm going to mispronounce her name hella bad. Chisani?
Chisani.
It's spelled Chessine, so that's why I keep wanting to read it as it's spelled, but it's Chisani.
Chisani of the Franzine Grig.
And he's of the, what is it, Quahog Grig? No, wait, what's his?
Of the Quansing Grig?
Quansing?
That's what it says on the TARDIS data core, which I always have open when I do this because I have a terrible memory.
They keep saying it like it means something.
They're basically just different families of androgums.
That's the one thing because we had an androgum appear in our season premiere for Game of Rassilon this year, and his name was Polydine. We never said what Polydine was of. Which I think we missed a trick there.
It's not too late. You could say it right now. Make it canon. You love that.
Yeah. Oh, you know me. I love canon. Yeah, it was great just have this big, beefy kind of bounty hunter androgum just step out of a flying sword and say, I am Polydine.
Of the Butterball Grig.
Hey, let's do a podcast.
But we're doing the Game of Rassilon. We are establishing canon right here.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and give me an ingenuity and athletics check.
Clatter. That's me rolling the dice.
Very authentic.
I don't know, an 8.
That's a very bad roll. I'm afraid you've just been murdered by Shockeye.
Okay, follow-up question, though. Does he eat me?
You'd make good sandwiches.
Actually, let me do a roll. Clatter. 22. Yes, he does.
Follow-up question. Do I enjoy it?
You are too dead to have any kind of emotion. Fun fact, the androgum in the RPG do have to do a check to resist eating people the first time they meet them, which was a lot of fun. Also, that androgum character is the only person who's ever come close to killing our doctor on the show. Because he just throws a butcher's knife at her and it lands in her arm.
Ooh.
No.
So we're on scene 2.
Okay, so yes, they've poisoned everybody. 2 goes to talk to this man in a jumpsuit with slicked back white hair, big giant glasses. He looks like Ben Stiller's character in Starsky and Hutch when he's going undercover.
You said that like 8 times while we were watching it.
It was bugging me the whole time. I was like, what Ben Stiller character is this guy? I know I've seen Ben Stiller play this exact character. And it's the Do It guy.
It is uncanny. I
don't remember anything about Starsky and Hutch, but I remember that character. His name is Dastari. The doctor says that he's been officially,
I'm here quite unofficially.
Yes. Sent by the Time Lords to basically ask them to stop experimenting with time. Because
they're gonna break it.
I really like that this serial takes like the Second Doctor, which is like this very fun kind of like a little bit cuddly doctor that everyone likes, and immediately makes him a dick. Immediately turns him into a cop. I do genuinely like that a lot.
I mean, they've been writing 6 for a while. They just get stuck in that mindset, right?
That was my immediate thought, actually, when he was like, he says something rude to Jamie, and I'm like, they're just too used to writing 6.
I think a little bit what they're trying to do is something not unlike Twice Upon a Time.
Where they just make the older doctor grumpier as a contrast.
Yeah, and like more flawed. So like we feel like a sense of progression when we get to 6. So like, and since 6 is already a dick, he has to be like even more of a dick.
Double down on the dick.
That's my favorite KFC sandwich.
The first mean thing that I feel like 2 does to Jamie is Chessini comes in with some food and offers it to Jamie, and Jamie's like, ooh, yes. And the doctor says, no, thank you. 1 meal a day is sufficient.
It is not. That is a lie.
Illegal. Send the second Doctor to food jail.
Christine is abstaining from the conversation because I'm pretty sure she survives on 1 meal a day.
Maybe.
Everybody shamed Christine into eating more.
I'm fine.
Chessini leaves, and Dastari explains. He basically brags about her. He's like, isn't she pretty great? And he's like, sure, why? He's like, oh, she's an androgum, and I just augmented the hell out of her, and now she's good people.
I took out all the shitty traits that androgum have. You know how shitty androgum are? You know how they're like nasty, stinky, just unpleasant people to be around? What I've done is I've cherry-picked the bits of the androgum, who I fucking hate, cherry-picked the good bits, and I've made, if you can believe this, a good androgum. Could you imagine such a concept?
Which it basically amounts to, I removed the warts in their red eyebrows.
We ran out of Rice Krispies for the makeup on this one, so...
So after bragging about how great this augmented androgum is, she proceeds to let in a bunch of Santarans to attack the ship.
Ruh-roh!
Then we cut to our current Doctor.
Wow, they skip ahead to Jodie Whittaker in a story from the 80s? That's wow. That's really impressive. Wow. How did they even... They must have been planning this for decades. How old was Jodie when this was filmed?
Honestly, it was a continuity error, and Chibnall just made it canon.
That feels true. It feels true.
So, 6 is fishing for Gumblejack.
Every name is so stupid in this. Every single name is so stupid.
There's no reason for it. There's no call for it. It's just, he's fishing. Well, he doesn't need to be fishing for a space fish.
Let's have a fun recap of the names we've encountered so far. Dastari, Shockeye, Chessini, Katz and Reimer, Gumblejack, Colin Baker.
What I love about all the names, though, is that all of the names do sound kind of Mediterranean, like sort of Italian. Eventually, we're like in Spain. It feels like almost on purpose, but pointless.
Well, Gumblejack would actually make a little bit more sense with the initial location that we were going to go to, which was it was originally supposed to be set in Louisiana. And like Gumblejack definitely sounds like some Cajun food.
It does.
Oh, I could just go for some Gumblejack right now.
Mm-mm.
And so could the Doctor.
Yes, let's move this narrative forward.
Which is why he's fishing. And Perry is very bored and half naked.
And whining.
For the dads, as they say.
You know, like Americans. You know how Americans are always naked and complaining?
I am constantly naked and complaining.
I'm naked and complaining right now. I may not be American, but I have a green card. That's got to count for something.
You're trying real
I'm
hard.
doing my best to blend in.
When you got your green card, they took away your clothes, right?
They did. I did have to exchange my clothes for the green card, yeah.
That's how it works.
And then they gave me like 8 guns, which I felt was unnecessary.
You only need 6.
Because they handed me 4 when I arrived at the office, and then they gave me another 8. So I just have these 12 guns. What am I supposed to do with these? What do you do with... I don't know how to clean a gun.
Well, that's why they gave you 8. They're disposable.
Oh, okay. Like pens at the bank.
Yeah, or like when you go to a wedding and like each table has a disposable gun.
Yeah.
America.
This is canon for America. This is American canon.
That's my favorite song by the Guess Who.
If you do become a Southern American, you do get a canon. So that's how it works.
Yeah.
So, back in Doctor Who, 2 gets very heated with Dastari, who decides to take a nap. No, wait, sorry, he was drugged. Well, the Santarans come on board, and Jamie runs off. 2 gets taken by the Santarans, and we see him getting shot up by something.
And it's pretty rough.
Yeah, he screams silently in, like, blue lights. And meanwhile, 6 collapses on the TARDIS. He has a brief twinge of cosmic angst. So Shockeye tries to kill Jamie. He keeps trying to eat Jamie and, like, keeps getting interrupted. That's, like, a recurring gag?
It's as if Shockeye is Tom and Jamie is Jerry.
He's like, I'm gonna eat you. And Chessini comes in and says, no, we need to leave. And he's like, fine. But can we go to Earth? I want to go there for food reasons. And she's like, fine, we can go to Earth.
Yeah, I've heard about In and Out. I'd love to hear. I heard there are lines at the drive-thru, but like, it's worth it from what I hear. Give me some of them animal-style fries.
Perry thinks that, Perry wakes 6 up and he's all disoriented. And she's like, oh, let me get you some celery. And he's like, oh, wait, yes, that. And jelly babies. And a recorder. and a scarf, and just lists, he doesn't say a scarf, but he lists all the previous
How about
Doctor.
a car?
Let's take a quick detour into the human mind. Final caveman, I want to kill him with a rock.
And then Perry was like, oh good, you're back to normal.
Yeah, any time where the Doctor wakes up after a lapse of consciousness and he doesn't immediately try to strangle her, that's got to be like a huge relief for Perry, right? Like, she's got to be like, oh, thank Christ. Oh, thank fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ, yes, thank you. Thank you, merciful Lord in heaven. Yes, thank you.
I find Perry's performance so
Accurate for Americans? Because the accent's flawless.
I find her performance both awful but also understandable, like considering the trauma she's went through. She looks like she's about to cry at any second, and that's kind of annoying, but also
Fair enough.
That's the Colin Baker experience, baby.
she says that he needs a doctor, and he asks her, "Are you trying to make a joke?"
Are you fucking with me?
But he's like, "Actually, you know what? That's a pretty great idea, but I'm going to pretend like I had it." And pulls out a wallet of geniuses, I guess. He has a bunch of business cards of famous people, including Christopher Columbus, which is a remnant of it being Louisiana, I feel like.
I do like the "he has a lot to answer for" line.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think that's actually kind of thematically important because, like, the serial does seem to be about different groups of people all assuming that their cultures are superior than other cultures. So Christopher Columbus on Earth is, like, the example of, like, one culture coming to another culture, deeming themselves superior and then destroying them, which is the thing that's happening in all these different iterations throughout the serial. And, like, even how it starts with, like, two coming in and saying that, hey, these experiments that you're doing, you're not good enough to do them. We're Time Lords, we know. So we're gonna, like, shut your shit down.
Ooh, themes.
Yeah, themes.
Themes!
Say what you will about the serial, I think it's, like, one of the most thematically dense Doctor Who serials in, like, classic Who.
I will say what I will about this cereal, and the cereal in question is Rice Krispies. They glued a bunch of them to that, guys. This joke, I don't have an out for this joke. I just have to kind of keep going until someone interrupts me.
It's about
Let him
racism
spiral.
and also vegetarianism.
Well, I do think, like, looking at that theme is the only way for, like, the Centaurans' presence to make any sense.
Yeah, the Suntarans are very...
Because otherwise they don't do shit.
Yeah, but they're just there as, like, they are treated like shit because they look like aliens. And the Androgums look kind of like humans, but they're basically the same deal.
After the Sontaran experiment, any and every story involving the Sontarans up to A Good Man Goes to War, the Sontarans don't need to be there. There's no need for them to be there. They are superfluous in every story with the word Sontaran in the title, and also this one.
Apparently the Sontarans were a JNT requirement.
Robert Holmes did not want to do it, but he was convinced to do it by him saying, "But you're the one who invented them, and you're the only person who's ever written them right. So do it again."
And he was like, no, fuck you. I'm just gonna, like, rate them almost as generically as possible.
And I think he does that on purpose to counterpoint the Androgum.
Exactly. And then writes a story about writing people generically.
Themes!
Themes! The theme of this episode is
Themes.
So the Doctor chooses out of his wallet Dastari to go check out. So they go to whatever that place was. I don't even know the name of it. Some station.
SETI Alpha 5!
Yeah, sure.
No, it's Space Station Chimera, which is just spelt camera on the wiki. It's a space station camera. You know how phones have cameras? Well, now space stations have cameras as well.
It's so convenient.
So they arrive there. The whole place is just fucked up. Smells bad. There's decaying food and corpses.
That is word for word what the Sixth Doctor says as he steps out of the TARDIS. It's fucked up! Everything smells bad and there's corpses.
And Perry's like, oh no! Why does this always happen? They talk to the computer. They have to fight the computer, basically. It's like putting up defenses and stuff. They trigger something and Six has to pump the wall to fix things. I don't entirely understand what he's doing, but he pumps the hell out of that wall.
He's padding it out. He's padding this episode out.
It's a visual representation of Robert Holmes writing the script.
He says he's establishing a pressure wall or some bullshit.
Robert Holmes, it's so funny that, like, this is the last, like, six-parter linked story since Robert Holmes famously hated six-parters.
So he gets to be the one who kills them.
And so he's kind of doing his structure that he always did for six-parters, whereas, like, the first two episodes are sort of their own thing, and then the last four are sort of their own thing. So, like, this first episode is the space station episode, and then the next two are the Spain episode.
Ah, but Robert, it's a three-parter. It's fine.
Also put those potatoes in it. Speaking of Spain, that's where we go to next. And it felt like we were just watching a completely different thing. Dastari, Cecchini, and Shakai and all of them, they arrive at a hacienda where they proceed to attack an old lady.
Fun fact, hacienda is Spanish for ass. This has been Language Corner with me, Jason Statham.
I'm glad we have Jason Statham for just these very few segments.
I'm Jason Statham.
Jason!
Yes, Christine, what can I do for you? I'm Jason Statham.
So you're really into Doctor Who, that's why you're here, right?
I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. I've put myself forward for the title role many times. I keep getting turned down. I'm Jason Statham.
What would your doctor be?
My doctor, I think it's pretty obvious, would be Jason Statham. No nonsense. Fast cars, punching, power drills, I think is a thing I'm known for.
So, like, John Pertwee.
My goal would be to recapture the thrill and adventure of the John Pertwee era of the show. But through a lens of our modern society, I'm Jason Statham.
Have you considered maybe taking a role as a Sontaran? You got the head for it.
I do have the head for it. I have the people. Not a lot of people know this. I'm actually a Sontaran IRL. So I think it would also be a pretty good diversity hire because it'd be the first non-human doctor. You'd have an actual factual Sontaran playing your actual doctor. I'm Jason Statham.
You keep saying that a lot. Is there a reason that you're doing that?
Yeah, I think it's because I lack confidence in whether or not this is actually a good impression of Jason Statham. So I feel like I need to occasionally reiterate the name of the person I'm doing an impression of. Because I don't actually know, I think about it, don't actually think I've actually seen him in any films. I'm Jason Statham.
What an odd thing for Jason Statham to say.
In many ways, what this is it's like Richard Erndl's performance as the first Doctor in the Five Doctors, in that it's kind of a quasi-ideal of what the first Doctor was like, only without any actual frame of reference. But it goes without saying, I'm Jason Statham.
Hey, Ben, don't you have a heart out?
I do have a hard out, yeah. I'm really annoyed that Jason Statham is taking so much time on them. Could you go, please? Could you go? Yeah, all right. I'll be over here if you need me. Okay, thanks, Jason. Thank you. He's a pain in the ass to live with, and he doesn't do any of the dishes, but he pays most of the rent. So.
And he knows lots of languages.
He does know a lot. Listen, you need someone to do any kind of like quick translations. Jason Statham is on it.
Thanks for having him barge in.
No, well, I mean, he heard me recording a podcast, and he had to weigh in.
So, Six tells Perry that everyone is dead, and the computer is working out how to kill them. Perry thinks this is fun. He reads Dastari's journal, which makes it seem like the Time Lords killed everyone.
Dastari's journal, the Time Lords are here. Oh no, they've killed everyone. Oh no, they're killing me!
And Perry's like, this seems kind of suspicious. Maybe they're trying to frame him. Is framing like a specifically American phrase? Because he looks at her like she's an idiot when she says frame.
I think it's specifically a human phrase, and the Doctor, famously a character who has spent little to no time with humans, doesn't know what it means.
He also does a similar face over the words zapped.
I think he's more just like, he's very proper and like a kind of an elitist dick. He's not here for this slang nonsense.
So they're locked in a room. Colin Baker does the thing the Doctor does where he digs through his pockets trying to find something
Always
to pick the lock with.
Bit.
It's a resourceful pockets roll. That's what it's called in the RPG.
He doesn't pull anything useful out of his pockets, though he does give Perry a banana.
He failed his role.
I have a banana.
And instead he tears apart some art in the room and unlocks the door with that and says he may not know art, but he knows what he likes.
The most important thing about that banana is that Perry eats it later.
It made you very happy.
Yeah, because I didn't want it to just go away when it was done being used for a bit. Someone made good use of it.
Always bring a banana to a party. Bananas are good. My favorite thing about when the sixth Doctor says, I may not like art, but I know what I like, is that almost in my head, it's like an Agnes WandaVision like wink to camera. Like, who is this for? Who are you saying this for, Colin?
Definitely not Perry, because all he wants to do is like yell at her. So they head through some ducks, which they look super fucking cool. They look like the playground that I wanted to play on a lot as a child, like a Discovery Zone.
They look like a Nickelodeon game show.
And I always wanted to go on those. I knew I'd win. Why can't people put the fucking monkey together on Legends of the Hidden Temple?
It's hard,
It's three
apparently.
fucking pieces. Come on.
It's apparently more difficult than it seems. It's pressure. You go do it then.
I will. I'll kick all those kids' asses.
You're starting to sound like you failed to put together the golden monkey.
I don't like talking about it.
So we learned that Chessini has a power, I guess. She can sort of read people's minds. Due to her, I guess that's due to her augmentation and not necessarily like an androgum thing, because Shawkeye can't do it. She basically absorbs a bunch of information from this old lady because she doesn't have a Jason Statham.
And then never does that again.
No, she does. She does read other people's minds occasionally.
She doesn't, like, absorb... Like,
well, no.
Pick this one lady, and it's like, this is where all my knowledge comes from, is this one old lady in this village.
And she's like, honestly, though, it's just a lot of stuff about religion.
There's so much Catholicism in my head right now, and that is it. It was not a good pick.
Meanwhile, Perry hears growling as they crawl through the pipes. And Six doesn't care because he just wants to hear himself talk. The growling will later turn out to be Jamie. Why is Jamie growling?
Scottish people just be like that sometimes.
Has he gone feral? How long has he been here by himself? Do we know?
It's unclear.
It doesn't seem like it's been... I mean, it's been long enough for food and corpses to decay, I guess, but...
And long enough for him to get dirty.
Yeah, very dirty.
Yeah, no, he's filthy. It's unclear what he's been up to.
Speaking of filthy, there is a scene where Shawkeye and the Santaran, Varl is his name, they bicker a bit. I don't know what they're saying at all, because all I notice is Shawkeye is eating watermelon and chicken in the most disgusting way possible. Every time this man is on screen, he's just devouring food in the grossest, most way possible. Then we get to...
Is the new Santaran head shittier?
Yes.
Okay.
It's bad.
It doesn't move.
No.
You can see their mouths. Their mouths move behind the mask.
Yeah, it's like if Party City did a Sontaran mask in the 80s.
Also, I feel like it has eyelashes.
To be fair, none of them looked good. There's never been a Santaran that looked like any good until the new series.
I actually think the very first appearance of the Sontarans in the Time Warrior, I actually really love the look of the Sontaran for what they had, and like that. The first time, because I think when you watch the Time Warrior, you're spoiled by knowing what the Sontarans look like later. But that first moment where the Sontaran turns around and it's got kind of a very kind of, I mean, the guy's doing the thing with his tongue, but you've got like little hairs and like it's a shocking look. Like it's a very distinct look. I love it. I love the way the Sontarans looked in I think the Time Warrior and the Sontaran Experiment.
It's interesting that you bring that up. I forgot that Sontarans, like, one of their traits is that they, like, lick their lips. Because they don't do that this serial. But Shawkeye does it. The second Doctor does... Or not second Doctor. Sixth Doctor. God, there's so many doctors. The sixth Doctor...
Two!
It's
Literally in the title.
I know. But, like, everybody licks their lips in this serial, except for the Sontarans, which you'd expect to be the ones that do it.
It's more Robert Holmes being pissed that people ruined his Santarans.
He did that on purpose as a fuck you to continuity.
So then we meet Oscar and Anita, who are just wandering through the, I don't know, area, moth hunting.
This scene just happens, and you're like, okay, we have to do this now, I guess.
Oscar talks about moths in a way that makes it sound like he wants to fuck them.
He definitely wants to fuck the moths.
He mentions that they are like insects of the night and that he wants to mount them.
To be fair, who doesn't? Everybody wants to fuck Mothman.
That's true.
That is just a fact of life.
Is Mothman a moth?
Mothman, isn't he?
Batman's not a bat. Spider-Man is not
Man-Bat
Spider.
is.
Man-Bat is, yeah.
I feel like Mothman is a man-bat, right?
Okay, Mothman's probably just a man. but his man moth
is a moth who was bitten by a radioactive man.
Though this whole moth thing, I didn't realize until after we watched the serial.
It's to set some shit up.
Well, it's to set some shit up, but it's also kind of a metaphor for the vegetarianism as well.
Yeah, there's another level. It's sort of thematically, like, it's another example of, like, a person sort of feeling like they have rights over another person because they're superior to them. It's like, it's just happening in all these different layers.
Themes.
And it's specifically when he's talking about the moths, he doesn't even, like, he kills them, but he doesn't even really do anything with them. He doesn't even, like, eat them. He just wants to look at them because they're pretty.
He likes them, so he kills them.
Because she's like, why do you kill them? And he's like, because I like looking at them. And she says, don't you have television?
That's a good line. I think it is important that they kind of attach this kind of idea of cultural and, like, sense of superiority to a British guy. Like, to make it sort of clear, like, no, this isn't just, like, weird alien shit. This is you, the viewing audience.
We are Oscar.
You are complicit.
They see a Sontaran ship crash, or land, and think it has crashed, and they go to check it out, despite Oscar's constant protesting.
I love whenever some insanely weird-looking spacecraft crashes, and people are, I think a plane landed.
It's a giant fucking golf ball. Doesn't look like a plane at all.
I think Epcot crashed.
Meanwhile, back in those Discovery Zone ducks, the doctor is working on some sort of system to fix things, and Perry is grabbed by someone in a blanket who awkwardly wrestles her and 6 gasses himself and passes out onto some cables.
And then the episode ends. The episode ends because it must.
I do like the way he's just dangling on those cables. He falls perfectly onto them. It looks fun! It looks like something I wanted to do as a child.
At Discovery Zone.
I feel like if you turn away from the TV for like 2 minutes at this point, then you hear the and the end credits. It's like, what the fuck just... What did I miss in 2 minutes that now it's the end of the episode? What the fuck?
I sneezed and now I don't know how the serial ended.
That is the end of episode 1. We are now into episode 2, which I've called the plainclothes branch. Perry gets away from this violent blanket person and wakes up 6. They discover that the thing under the blanket is a Jamie. The doctor is like, oh, it's Jamie. Let me stick a thing in his neck. Just stabs. I don't know what that thing is. It looked very painful.
I think it's supposed to be like a
It's like a sedative. Yeah. But I don't know what effect they were doing there, but it looked way
I hated
too
looking
real.
at it.
Like it like stretched his neck meat in a way.
Oh, yeah, it's unpleasant.
It was very unpleasant. He calms him down and he hypnotizes him, and he finds out, like, because Jamie thinks that the doctor is dead, and that he basically describes Sontarans. He doesn't use the word potato once, but the doctor knows. He should. They head off and, I don't know, look at computers.
They're like, okay, cool, and then leave.
6 is suddenly worried that 2 is dead, and he didn't know about it because it was in the midst of a time experiment, which means the universe could be unraveling, and it could take centuries to do. While he is having this sort of meltdown, Perry checks on herself in a mirror, thinks she looks like a mess, and then goes to check on Jamie, because she's not worried at all about this unraveling of the universe, because it could take centuries.
She'll be dead way before then.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the current state of affairs.
That's how most people feel about the current state of affairs.
Ugh.
It's kind of a problem.
It's why we can't get shit done.
While she's gone, the 6th Doctor sees Perry silently dying in a glass display, tries to figure out what to do to get her out, presses a button, and then it turns into Dastari, and then it turns into the 2nd Doctor, and then it turns into the 6th Doctor, and it's just a weird screensaver, basically.
And we used it to trick Jamie or something? I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, when Jamie thought he saw the Doctor dying, this is what he saw.
It's unclear why we needed that, but again, this is 3 episodes.
You gotta have some filler. Perry and Jamie come back in, and the Doctor explains everything, including that he's the Doctor, and this confuses Jamie, and he says, I am he. He was me, and I was... Wait, what does he say?
I don't know.
It's something very confusing. He's like, he was me, and I am him now.
And we are all together. Cuckoo Kachib.
And Jamie says, who will I be? Which I think is very cute and funny. Because, like, now, from this point on, Jamie's just back to being Jamie. He's no longer, like,
Feral.
"Rah, I'm freaking out." Yeah, he's just comic relief now. The doctor's like, your doctor wasn't killed. It was this weird display case thing. So I'm going to astral project and figure out what happened to me. So he does that, and they're like, how long is this going to take? And he's like, I don't know, minutes, days, years, who knows? And then Jamie turns to Perry and goes, I think your doctor is worse than mine, which is...
A fun line.
It may be true.
It might be true. It might be accurate. I do like this concept. This is a fun idea of him just being like, I'm just going to astral project into my past self. Like it makes a sort of sense. And it's like one of those things that you could do with a multi-doctor story that like makes use of it in an interesting way. Like this is a serial that's like trying like between like the bit at the beginning that causes this, where like he feels himself dying. Like it's a serial that's like trying to use multiple doctors as storytelling and not just have multiple doctors there.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's just like we're throwing them together just cause and just having a bunch of references and stuff. There's like an actual sort of story along with it. Like the story is actually more important than the multi-doctor aspect.
Which honestly I think in my opinion is like the better way to go about it. Like, I do kind of prefer something like this to something like, you know, The Five Doctors.
I think maybe The Five Doctors is a little more consistently fun, though.
I guess, but it's also kind of boring and not that interesting most of the time.
Yeah, but I would argue that the same could be said about this for the first 2 episodes.
I think this serial's always interesting.
Okay. I don't know if I'd say always interesting. So we see that Dastari and Cesini have to. That's what he sees on his astral trip. He wakes up and they're like, Doctor, what's going on? And he just says, boing, boing. And he's like, I know where we need to go. And they're like, where? And he's like, I don't know. Something about a haircut. And then hums The Barber of Seville.
Oh, yeah. God, that's so dumb.
I don't get the boings. Is he trying to be a clock? Clocks don't boing, Colin.
I think he's being a bell.
Bell.
Bells don't boing, Colin.
Rabbits boing.
What boings, Ben?
Springs.
What boings? Joke characters in Street Fighter games.
I'll tell you what boings. Danny Elfman boings.
Danny Elfman does boing.
He oings and boings.
He's gonna boing again.
I know, I'm so excited! He's releasing a new album! I've already pre-ordered it. I'm very excited.
You're peeking the mic.
I'm sorry. I'm just very, very excited about Danny Elfman.
I love watching people being excited, so that was really nice.
You're welcome. Now let's get excited about Doctor Who. Shockeye eats a rat.
He's pretty happy about it, too.
It's the most disgusting thing that I think I've seen on Doctor Who. And Doctor Who has had plenty of disgusting things. Like, you see, like, him rip
This has been a gooey season.
He rips the rat open and it's just, like, gnawing right into it. It's disgusting. The Sixth Doctor and Perry and Jamie are heading towards Seville in the TARDIS. Six berates Perry a little, as he does. And Jamie changes clothes back into his sort of Scottish look. And then they sort of get into a discussion about two. And he's like, I hope he's not in a dungeon and all this. And he's like, how could he let himself get caught by Andra Gums? He says, if anything happens to myself, I'll never forgive himself. And Perry wishes he'd stop switching personal pronouns, which seems rude.
It's incredibly rude.
In fairness to Perry, the way that the Doctor is shifting is not how you would say this. This is very much a writer trying to be like, aren't
I
a little
clever?
knot in language. But it's not how you would speak about your past/future self.
How would you talk about your past/future self, Ben?
I just say it's past Ben. Past Ben's fault. Oh, is it? Oh, are we out of Thousand Island dressing? Oh, that's past Ben's fault. I didn't do that. It was past Ben. Hey, take it up with them. You know, past Ben's always just pouring the Thousand Island dressing straight into their mouth like it's chocolate syrup. Just taking the lid off the bottle and just downing it like it's Gatorade. Like it's. But listen, that's a problem that past Ben has, and we are going to have to work together to intervene in past Ben's disgusting salad dressing habits. So as soon as past Ben gets here, we need to sit them down and gently have an intervention. Let me know when they get here. I'll be in the other room polishing off the last of the ranch.
The good thing is Future Ben just secretes dressing, so it all evens out.
Future Ben is marinated in kind of a sweat dressing of their own devising from all of the dressing that they have consumed over their lifetime.
It's gross but convenient.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you need to get a dog out of an air vent, Future Ben does not need to be greased up. Future Ben can just slide right in.
What the fuck are we talking
I do have a hard out.
Okay, so Oscar and Anita are chasing down this crashed plane, and they run into the police, or rather it's the police box, and she's like, but it doesn't say, was it Policia? And he says it's Interpol. They have branches everywhere.
And small blue boxes, apparently.
And Six pops out, and he has taken off his coat, and he just has a vest on, and this look is great. I like it a lot better than the big coat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So good.
You made an audible gasp when you saw it.
I want that fucking vest. It's so good.
The shirt you're wearing is kind of like that vest.
It's just a Hawaiian, like, floral print vest. It's so good.
You have one.
I do. I don't wear it. It's too small now.
I know, I tried to wear it, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is too small.
So at this point, I actually want to throw a shout out to my friend Stephen Ricks, who is Stephen Ricks Tailoring on Instagram. That's Stephen with a V. So Stephen Ricks is a wonderful, delightful human being. One of the things he's most known for is replicas of the Sixth Doctor's coat. He actually did a replica of the vest in question. He wore it to Gallifrey a couple of years ago, but also gifted one in Colin Baker's size to Colin. And so when they released the Trial of a Time Lord season on Blu-ray, that trailer that where Colin Baker was in court wearing the vest, that is the vest that Stephen Ricks made for him.
That's so
That is
cool.
great.
That is a replica of this vest. And Stephen did such a check again. Stephen Ricks Tailoring on Instagram. Like, he does so much stuff. He's so talented. He's so gifted. I'm deeply, deeply envious of his spectacular talent. And he just does some amazing stuff.
I'm going to follow him after we record this.
So tomorrow,
Yes. So, Oscar thinks they're cops. Clearly the plainclothes branch, hence my title. Because they're all just wearing ridiculous outfits at this point. The doctor's like, hey, what's going on here? They sort of explain, like, they're going to a crash and everything. And he's like, great, I think these are the fugitives we're after. Come with us. And Oscar's like, no, thank you. Anita basically has to convince him to do it, which, again, keeps happening. He also gets distracted by moths a lot.
again, who doesn't?
He's horny on Maine for moths. Do people still say horny on Maine?
I'm horny on Maine for horny on Maine.
It's generalized to people just say on Maine for lots of things, but I think people still say horny on Maine.
So the next thing is Dastari needs the second Doctor's genes to stabilize a time travel device.
Like his genetic material, not his his trousers. I said trousers in deference to Ben.
When they're talking about this, actually, Six mentions it in front of Perry at some point. Something about like how he has that they're after the second Doctor's whatever. I don't remember what it is. And she's like, "Oh, that's how you fly the TARDIS." Like, I don't know how she put that together.
It's like a symbiotic nuclei, and it's like the story turns over 2 pages at once and skips the part where it tells us why and how. It's like, imagine Cinderella, and you're like, yes, Cinderella, you shall go to the ball, and then you turn over the page, and she's leaving, and she's left a shoe behind. It's like, what the fuck? What just happened that I missed? What are we doing here? Glass slipper? What?
I sneezed again.
It's the Smith to Capaldi regeneration. You regenerate and you miss an ending of an episode.
So, okay, so the idea here is that there's this inherent part of Time Lords that lets them time travel, and if you have a time device that they've made, they have to prime it with their genetic material before it'll work.
Gross.
Does this?
You got to jizz on a TARDIS in order to fly it.
Exactly. He does mention at one point that he only left a thin membrane, so it would only work once.
Oh.
It's hard to do it 3 times a day, you know?
So, if this is all true, whatever this is this, if we're going by canon, and Chibnall has done this weird thing with the Timeless Child, and she's not technically a Time Lord, but the other Time Lords have inherited her genetic material, is that the thing?
I think
theory.
so. Yeah, I do think the idea is that, like, Time Lords are Time Lords because of whatever the Doctor's deal is.
We have like 6 separate canonical descriptions of why the Time Lords are Time Lords right now. But the current one is that one person extracted the thing and made the thing. The end.
That's how it works. Again, this is not a thing that makes sense at all with any other Doctor Who.
You could say that about literally any story.
But, like, Robert Holmes doesn't care because, like, it's all part of the thematic thing that he's doing. And which is why I say that this serial is not racist, but also it's racist.
Schrodinger's racism.
On one hand, it does not believe that there is any group of people who is, like, superior to any other group of people. And, like, thinks that belief is bad, but also believes in a very strong genetic essentialism. So it's like, there are these genes that the Time Lords have that make them time travel. And it's like, and that's kind of what colors this serial in a weird way, that, like, you can't totally reclaim it because it's like, or you can't extricate the good things from it with also this idea that, like, yes, there are, like, these genetic components to people that, like, are immutable a little bit. So, like, Time Lords do have, like, this genetic thing about them that allows them to time travel, just like androgams have this genetic thing, which you can inject into other people, but, like, there's still this sort of, like, sense of just fundamental genetic essentialism.
It's like this idea of, like, no, nothing's better than anything else, but also everything is, like, you can't change their nature at the same time.
There's no better nature, but nature is fixed.
I like the idea of the Rassilon imprimatur as, like, oh, did you get the Moderna, the Pfizer, or the Johnson & Johnson? I got the Rassilon imprimatur. Oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm immune, and also I can pilot a TARDIS, and if I die, my face will change. Oh, nice. Do you have to get, like, a booster? Or... No, I think that's pretty much it. I think I'm done.
It's interesting to look at the androgam, actually, because this is where, like, the sort of, like, veganism comes in. He talks about all the time of, like, how much more civilized he is than everybody else, because he likes to eat food. He likes to eat people. And that makes him more civilized, and, like, that is part of this theme of, like, nobody's better than, like, this belief in, like, being more civilized is fake. It's not a real thing. But at the same time, the Doctor says, like, this whole race is dangerous, and, like, he ends up being right.
But it also, is he, though? That's the thing that's unclear, is, like, whether or not the Doctor is right. I don't know if I think the serial actually thinks that the Doctor is right.
I will disagree with that when we get to a certain scene, but...
Yes, that's fair. I will also say, like, spoilers to, like, talking about the very end, I do think the episode is making a very strong point by having the Doctor eventually kill Shockeye using the same thing that the guy uses to kill moths. Sort of, like, saying that there's definitely not any sort of superiority. Like, there's no difference. Like, yeah.
So 2 is a little racist about androgams with Dastari.
He doesn't like Rice Krispies. That's what it boils down to. He's more of a Frosted Flakes guy.
He's basically just like, I think your androgam experiments are stupid and that you can't change androgams and they're bad. And then he says, oh my giddy aunt, to smooth over the awkwardness. So people are going, at home are going, ah. And then they go, oh, he said the thing.
I love that.
He did do a racism, but then he said those words in that configuration. So it's basically fine.
It's basically fine.
Then Stike is the leader of the Centaurans. There's 2 of them. They're virtually identical. Now that's me being racist.
Well, I will tell you this. Val is played by Tim Raynham, and Stike is played by Clinton Grain. And if I were to show you pictures of Tim and Clinton, I couldn't tell them apart because I don't know which one is which. Not because they look the same, I just don't recognize their faces.
What are their names?
They're just people. Like you and me.
But one of them is a murderer.
Between me and Ben Paddon?
I mean, I don't know about that, but maybe.
Tony, did you tell them?
So, on the TARDIS data core entry for Tim Raynham, it says Tim Raynham, born 2nd of June, 1958, and then there's a citation, and the citation is labelled bankruptcy orders.
Oh my god, that's very good.
That's not ideally how you want your entry on the Doctor Who wiki to, like, you don't want that to be the source of your last name. Yeah, when you had to declare bankruptcy, yeah.
I also love the way that implies that there was some sort of, like, investigative reporting on the TARDIS wiki's part to figure out when he was born. It's like, you need to know this. I gotta go look through records. I gotta go to, like, City Hall and find out what's going on.
Is this Stike or Varl?
Oh, this is Varl. Tim Raynham played Varl. Clinton Grain, who played Stike, passed away in 2019.
Well, rest in peace. That's very recent.
He also played Ivo in State of Decay.
Was that one of the vampire things?
He was the headman of his village. He had a great big bushy beard.
Yeah, I do remember that.
He looked like someone hit Solid Snake with an age ray.
Speaking of Stike in this scene, he comes in and just sort of hangs out with the doctor, the second doctor, and just complains about the loneliness of being a commander. Then 2 starts to just be racist directly at him and sort of trying to rile him up so that he'll like fight him. So I assume as like a way to get out. I don't know. But he's just basically trying to rile him up into having a duel, and it doesn't work. But he does, the doctor does get slapped in the face. So that's fun.
That does feel sort of intentional, having him be racist against the Andrograms and immediately being racist against the Sontarans and sort of drawing a parallel between them.
Who's consistently racist across the board.
Think about Time Lords, they're all racist.
I have heard that.
Then the next scene is Shockeye reading 2 different cookbooks at the same time, which is a very good skill to have.
Yeah, because when you care about your food that much, you do need to read 2 possibly conflicting recipes simultaneously.
You want to be able to make like a dessert borscht.
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of was it the shepherd's pie that Rachel makes in that one episode of Friends?
Oh, it's a trifle.
The trifle that's got shepherd's pie in the middle of it.
I don't like the fact that I remember a lot about Friends, but I do.
I don't remember. I never watched it.
We just got rid of
the box set. We got like $100 in like trade-in money.
And I used it to buy a mic.
That's a much better deal. My mom had like a VHS box set of Friends. It was quite large. It was a large amount of Friends on VHS.
That's how you want your Friends. It's just on VHS.
All of my friends I have those like Rent-A-Pal videos.
All my exes live in Texas and all my friends are on VHS. Sorry, I just realized that all my exes do live in Texas.
Yeah, you live...
My exes are scattered geographically. I have some that are not even on the same continent as me.
I have one ex, and they're in California. So they're with you, presumably. Actually, I don't really know where they live.
In your walls. You know those news stories where you find like, yeah, there was someone, they lived in the cupboard over the fridge for like 3.5 months.
Those scare the shit out of me.
It's one of those stories, but it's your ex.
It's a real Parasite situation. Spoilers for Parasite.
I wonder if my ex is dead.
Well, I'm glad you're wondering and not certain.
As Toni is washing the blood. Just clean the hands. Must be clean.
Toni was the murderer. Twist.
It was you all along.
It was me all along, yeah.
So while Shockeye has the ability to read 2 books at one time, Chessini is not as talented because the 6th Doctor is listening in on their conversation, very awkwardly leaning on like a crate or something, and topples over, knocking a bunch of stuff over. And she comes to look out the window, and he's right underneath the window. And she doesn't look down. And she's like, nothing out here. I guess I'll go back inside.
It's that genetic augmentation. It's the opposite of the dogs from Shaun of the Dead. Dogs can't look up, and Androgam can't look down.
Isn't there an animal that can't look up? Is it pigs?
It's humans.
It is pigs.
No, it's true. No, it's pigs. It's true. Police officers cannot look up.
So the Doctor can't look up.
Right.
In space.
In space, no one can hear you look up. Hey, do you remember when this was a Doctor Who podcast?
No.
The 6th Doctor comes back to, like, the group. Oscar, Anita, Perry, Jamie. There's so many of them. They're all, like, they hear him coming and they don't know it's him and they all try to hide, but they are just lined up in a row, not hiding at all. He sort of reports what he saw. Jamie is like, oh, I think I know who they are. They were on that ship I was on. They're like hungry men or something.
Hungry boys.
Hungry boys.
He does say, I think he said a hungry man. And then the Doctor is like, oh, you mean androgums, which doesn't sound anything at all similar. But he figures it out.
I mean, they are hungry.
Yeah, maybe the Doctor's just aware of the androgum, less for their cannibalistic ways and more for the range of microwavable ready meals that they provide to supermarkets across the United States.
Shockeye is a chef, so it checks out.
Shockeye the chef. It's alliterative, so you know it's true.
So then they all come up with a plan to sneak into this hacienda.
Spanish for house.
Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Go back to your corner.
I'll be over here if you need me. Goodbye.
So Perry's going to pretend to be a student, like asking about the house. And as she's walking up to the house, Shockeye sees her from the window and proceeds to just very over the top, like lean out and lick his lips and like at her.
Cool and good.
This scene is so unnecessary.
It's not gross, he just wants to eat her.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, but and I don't think it happens in this scene, but like they cut back to it. And he keeps talking about how pretty she is.
That's every male character in any Perry episode talks about how attractive she is.
I'm just saying I don't talk to my steak like that.
Don't lie to me. I have heard you talk about how good your food looks.
Oh, I want to fuck this steak. That's a reasonable thing to say.
Titty fuck a flank steak.
I am gonna stick my penis in this pot pie.
Jason Statham, I said go back to your corner.
No, I'm gonna tell you about other
And
food
put that
I wanna...
pot pie down.
No, it's all right. It's gone cold. I'm Jason Statham.
Is that what you like, Jason?
I learned all about the birds and the bees from that movie starring the other Jason and the Eyebrow Man. There's 2 Jasons, and I'm one of them.
What about the murdery Jason?
We don't talk about him. He's not real. He's fiction. Every Jason other than Jason Biggs and Jason Statham, he's fictional. I'm Jason Statham.
What about Bateman?
He doesn't count. Tell you a fun fact. He's that's not his real name. He took on that name after he was bitten by radioactive Jason Bate.
But wait, so what about the Jason that bit him?
Oh, he's dead now. It's like bees. You get Jason Bate, you get bitten by Jason Bate, and then they immediately die afterwards. I'm Jason Statham.
What about Jason Alexander?
He's non-union.
Oh, okay, cool. That tracks. I understand. It's a union thing.
He might be FICOR. I don't know. I haven't checked.
People can't have same names for credit reasons. I get that. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Question, Jason, was this like the Josh fight? Was it a similar scenario?
Well, the Josh fight is a legally distinct, non-trademark variation of what me and the other Jasons go. Actually, it's almost a mockery because I did a PSA about Jason on Jason violence a while back. I don't know if you saw it. If you've ever watched TNT after 2 a.m., you'll see me on there saying, "Hello, I'm Jason Statham, and I want to talk to you about Jason on Jason violence." Oh, you don't want... Okay, you don't want to listen? Oh, no, that's fine. I'll bye.
I make it a point not to watch anything Jason Statham's in, so...
Question.
Sorry,
Christine.
Jason Statham.
Don't you
None
have
taken.
a heart out?
In the ad, if I might ask the ad a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, I'm the Jason Statham in the ad. And I'm the regular Jason Statham. Joe, I suspect you're going to have to accomplish this via a certain degree of stereo separation. I think the one from the ad should be in the right ear, and the real Jason Statham should probably be left of centre, just like in real life.
Or maybe a little bit more tinny, to suggest that they're on a screen, like from a smaller speaker.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jason on the television. I've been led to understand that you liked the fact that there was less Jasons. So, is Jason on Jason violence like a good thing? Are you encouraging it?
On a broad scale, I officially do not support Jason on Jason violence, but on the personal level scale, every time one Jason kills another, we absorb their life force in a process known as the quickening.
Oh, so like Catholicism.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of it before.
Thou must not suffer a Jason to live.
Sorry, I broke character for a moment, but I'm back now and I'm Jason Statham. Which Jason Statham am I at the moment?
I am assuming that you were the one in the TV. I want to say goodbye to the one in the television.
Okay,
it was
I'm
nice
going
meeting
now.
you.
Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And say hi to standard Jason Statham, the current Jason Statham that has bits of, pie dripping off the tip of his penis.
Yes, I'll be honest with you, this pie was a little bit hotter than I thought it was going to be, and I've got kind of a blister situation going on.
Oh.
It's not
That's
great,
really
I won't
difficult.
lie to you. It's deeply unpleasant. Don't buy banquet pies, they're the worst.
My heart goes out to you. I do want to let you know that we're recording a Doctor Who podcast, so maybe this isn't the best time.
I suspect a large amount of this is going to find itself getting cut. This might end up as a Patreon backer bonus, or possibly put after the end credits, like the end of a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's like setting up the Jason Statham spin-off podcast.
The cinematic Jason universe.
I want to talk to you about the Jason Statham Initiative. That actually, the idea of a podcast called the Jason Statham Initiative, where we just reviewed Jason Statham movies, might actually not be a bad idea. Do you mind, Ben? I'm terribly sorry, Jason.
I think the Jason Statham Initiative is a podcast wherein Jason Statham reviews the 4th season of Buffy.
It could also, the Jason Statham Initiative could also just be one-on-one Dungeons and Dragons with Jason Statham.
Oh.
I feel like in that situation, that podcast would have to be hosted by the man whose name I've forgotten, who's also bald.
Jason Alexander.
Yes, Jason Alexander.
I just want a podcast of just Jason Statham telling us how he is. Just, everyday stuff. The state of Statham. That's what I want.
This is Statham on Statham. This week, I'll be talking to me, Jason Statham.
Oh, God. We should do Doctor Who, maybe. So, back to the show.
Already in progress.
Annoyed by all of this Jason Statham talk, Anita and Oscar leave. As she's leaving, Jamie shakes her hand and looks like he's in love with her.
A little bit.
Oh, Jamie's in love with everyone. That's Fraser Hines.
Yeah, that's
just how Fraser do.
I don't think we ever established that Oscar also manages a restaurant.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why we haven't established that, because the show doesn't establish that until we see him do it.
I mean, it does. He says something at the beginning.
He says he's an actor, and
He's
they're like,
between
what are you
acting
acting in? He's
gigs.
like, I'm between acting gigs, so I'm managing a restaurant for my friend.
And at the time, you're like, okay, thanks. And then later, when you're at the restaurant, you're like, oh, it's important.
That to me definitely feels like we didn't want to cast someone else to play the restaurant manager. We didn't have that much money. Patrick Troughton asked for a reasonable amount of money. Fraser Hines asked for slightly too much money.
To be fair, I think he also names the restaurant, which is La Cadenas or something.
Messijos. Oh, no.
It's Grumble Jacks.
McDonald's.
Yes, McDonald's.
It's just a McDonald's. It's a Spanish McDonald's.
Delightful little Scottish place.
It's one of those Scottish restaurants you find all over Spain.
Exactly. That's where you get the best Scottish food. So Perry goes in and talks to Chessini about, her little fake cover story. And Chessini reads her mind and says that she's thinking about the doctor a lot. And they're like, how does she know about the doctor? And they're going to just push the second doctor in front of her at some point just to see if it's the same doctor she's thinking about.
Well, no, I think it's not even I don't think they know about the other doctor yet, do they?
No, but I think they're not sure if she's thinking about the doctor or just
like
a
doctor.
doctor.
Yeah, and I love that their solution is, well, we'll just wheel out the doctor and see if she recognizes him. That's a bonkers plan. We'll just show a hostage situation. It's fine. What?
Especially considering when she first shows up, Chessini's like, I live here alone. And then Shockeye is behind her and she goes, except for my servant. And then she's like, hey, let's just wheel out a third guy. That's not going to be suspicious.
I love it.
Who is strapped?
Yeah, who is strapped to a wheelchair.
For someone who's been genetically engineered to heighten their intellect, none of these are smart moves.
Not at all.
To be fair, I don't think Dastari is smart either. No one in the serial is smart.
I'll tell you some fun secret about Dastari. It's just bottled tap water. It's not from anywhere. It's just tap water straight from the tap, and it just goes into the bottle. They tried to sell it in the UK, and there was a huge controversy, and they ended up scrapping the brand. But you can still get it here. I can walk into a supermarket and get a case of Dastari.
That almost felt like a Statham fact.
No, that's a Ben fact.
I don't trust Ben facts, though. Just Statham facts.
Statham, if you want a Statham fact, here's a fun fact about Jason Statham. He just died. Just next to me. He just fell down and died.
Oh no, R.I.P.
What are you talking about? I'm fine.
No, Jason, you're dead. You've been dead the entire time. It's a Sixth Sense situation.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Sixth Sense, you know that. We were going to rent that on Google Play tonight, and we were going to watch you just ruined it for me.
But which character did I say was dead?
Oh, you got me there. You didn't mention any specific character names. I have to assume it was Bruce Willis.
See, that I have actually spoiled The Sixth Sense for you.
Oh, I don't know why I live with you. You ruin all my favourite movies.
How can it be a favourite movie when you haven't seen it? Jason, think about the things you're saying before you open your mouth.
Hey, Jason, really quickly, I just want to apologize for spoiling Parasite.
It's okay, I wasn't going to watch it. I can't read subtitles. It's not so much that I'm illiterate, I just ethically and morally object to letters on the screen.
That's interesting considering Crank had a lot of weird subtitles.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Have you seen any of your movies?
Because what happens is the logo appears on the screen, I'm forced to read it, and then I storm out of the premiere. I won't do it. It's fun. Crank was interesting, because what they did was they just filmed me going about my day-to-day business, and then they kind of edited a movie around it, so... But I haven't seen it. Is it any good?
People like it.
High praise.
The second one's worse.
Oh, the second one's worse.
Yeah.
I tell you, not knowing how good the first one is, that's not a good barometer.
It's your favorite movie.
Oh, Crank is one of my favourite movies, so I haven't seen it.
Chris will spoil it for you later.
All your favorite movies are movies you haven't seen because you hate movies.
My favourite movie is Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. It just speaks to me, you know?
If you've seen it.
I mean, I haven't. I assume it's got apes in it, and that's enough for me, you know? I like knowing they're there.
You like the idea that, like, apes could be there, and perhaps they could be sort of gothic and have daddy issues.
Just conceptually, I'm a fan.
I think it's got Paul Giamatti as an ape. That's great.
It does have Paul Giamatti in it.
I saw a movie the other day, and Paul Giamatti was in it, and I was really surprised. It was my best friend's wedding, the one with Julia Roberts, and I was going to say Rupert Grint, but that's the kid of Harry Potter. The other Rupert, the other famous Rupert, the one who Everett. Thank you, Rupert. We watched My Best Friend's Wedding, and Paul Giamatti's just in it as a hotel cart pushing person. I don't know what they're called because I refuse to talk to the lower classes, but he's in it for one scene, and it was just a fantastic scene. But in the next scene, they're reading a newspaper, and I had to turn it off.
Hey, Ben, have you seen My Best Friend's Wedding?
I actually have seen My Best Friend's Wedding. It's very good. Yeah, me and Jason actually watched it together.
My favorite Paul Giamatti movie is Big Mama's House.
I won't let Jason Statham derail the podcast. In fact, he actually has errands to run, so he's going to run out.
He has a heart out. Six and Jamie go sneaking around inside the house while Perry's distracting people. The Sixth Doctor falls into a cellar, and Jamie makes fun of him because the Doctor's like, "This ladder is a bit whoa," and Jamie says, "A wee bit rickety." Then, after they wheel out two in front of Perry just runs out.
Because you would if someone wheeled a hostage past you. Whether you recognize them or not, that might be a good cue to depart.
Then the Sixth Doctor finds this time travel device that Dastari has. I don't know if they built it or what, but I guess maybe it was those other guys, Hines and Reimer.
Apparently, there's other scientists who are working on it, but really the work was done by, what's her name? The Andergum.
Cassini,
yeah.
And it was Katzenreimer.
It's the Katzenjammer kits.
Hammer and tongs. But he says that this time travel machine won't work because it hasn't been primed by a Time Lord, which is something we've discussed before. Presumably it's semen, right? That's what we decided?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we landed on semen. And if you've ever landed on semen, it's unfortunate.
So Perry's running out of the house at full speed, and Shockeye chases her down. She trips and falls over literally nothing, and he looms over her with grabby hands. And that is the end of episode 2. And now we're into episode 3, which I have called Supper's Ready.
Finally. It feels like we've been doing this for 24 hours.
Supper's Ready is a Genesis album. Or a song, sorry.
Can't even get your own bit right. At least I have the good decency to remember what Jason Statham sounds like when I'm doing his voice. By which I mean my Jason Statham voice. By which I mean, of course, my roommate Jason Statham.
Yeah, it was weird. I should explain to, like, people who are listening to the podcast and aren't watching, like, the recording. Like, halfway through the Jason Statham thing, Jason Statham had to step in. And so Ben started doing the voice of Jason Statham.
It was very weird. It was seamless, but weird.
Yeah, it's very... Well, actually, Jason was only here, like, for the initial part of the recording and then had to leave. And I've kind of been doing him for most of the session.
His voice.
But that's fine, because we impersonate... Yeah, I mean, also sexually, but we do impressions of each other all the time, so it's fine. It's funny, he called up my bank and closed my checking account. That's how good his impression is.
Episode 3.
Suffer's ready. Shockeye picks up Perry, knocks her out, and then says it's a pity it wasn't a Jack, I believe is what he says. Stike catches the doctor and Jamie messing with the time travel device and says, prime the time travel device or I'll kill Jamie. So Six gets in the device, jerks off a little bit. It disappears and comes back. And then Stike's like, I'm going to kill Jamie anyway. Ha ha ha. And Jamie stabs him in the leg with a knife he had on his leg.
She does feel like Jamie could have done that earlier.
Then Sixth Doctor and Jamie get away, and they find the second Doctor. 2 and 6 are finally in the same scene together.
It took 1.5 hours, maybe longer, to get here.
I hate when, like, it feels like every multi-Doctor serial kind of wants to do that. It's just like, hold off on it for forever. And it's like, just get to it already. I want to see them interact.
I think part of that is scheduling more than anything else.
Yeah, but that's dumb.
On this occasion, it's because script editor Eric Soward hates Colin Baker.
That's valid. I think it's also a thing, though, where, like, the way that they plot Doctor Who stories sort of requires there being one doctor there. Because, like, the doctor's always the person moving the plot forward. So if you have, like, 2 doctors, it's kind of like they wind up eventually kind of just having to trade off on doing exposition, and like it makes it harder for, like, I guess the writers to just, like, they have to decide which one is like the alpha doctor.
But it's always the current Doctor that's the quote-unquote alpha. I think the only time they've ever, like, not say broken that rule, but, like, subverted it a little bit was with the Day of the Doctor, where you're also introducing the War Doctor at the same time. Because that story is as much about the War Doctor as it is about the 10th or 11th Doctors. I would say it's more the War Doctor's story than anyone else's.
That's the most serious thing you've said on the podcast, and I was unprepared for it.
Do you want me to say something? I could do a fart noise, or...
Please.
Throw in some... There you go.
I feel better now. So when 6 and 2 see each other, they stare at each other for a minute and then say, snap, at the same time. I did not know that was like... That's a game or something?
It's a British, it's a children's card game, yeah. I played it with special cards, and they would have animals on them, and you would have 2 people, you put down a card, and they would put down a card. If you put down the same card, first person to put their hand on the pile and say snap wins. And there's like half a dozen different variations of snap, but snap has continued to be used within Doctor Who as a way of saying, I'm the same as you, I also have this thing. Because the next time snap is used is in Time Crash.
Yeah, when he puts the glasses on.
And then River says it at some point too, right?
I think, yes, when she brandishes her off-brand sonic screwdriver.
It's basically just Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, it's Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man. It's Turtles all the way down.
It's same hat. But yes, finally the Doctors are together, so they immediately split up.
Cool.
They just push him into a room and then go, well, bye, and then run up some stairs and leave him there because more people are coming in. And basically, like, Chessini asks Dastari to turn the second Doctor into an androgum as 2 is pretending to be asleep. And then he just comedically opens his eyes and reacts to everything very silently and then pretends to be asleep again. Watching the serial is it's interesting seeing how Patrick Troughton is such a good actor compared to Colin Baker. I like Colin Baker, but...
I like Colin Baker too, but you're not wrong. And to be fair, Patrick Troughton's a very good actor. Patrick Troughton's a better actor than a lot of actors. But also, like, yeah, Colin Baker's not, like, the most skilled.
Colin Baker's fun. Patrick Troughton's good.
It's not just that Patrick Troughton is good. Patrick Troughton is good, and he's having fun. Like, he's having fun being good. Whereas I think Colin Baker is so hit my mark, say my line. I've made notes, I've rehearsed this, I know exactly how I'm going to say it. Whereas Patrick Troughton, particularly when you're watching him in the 60s, has a real kind of energy of, I know my lines, I know what I'm doing, but I also want to have fun with this. Like, you can... Patrick Troughton, I think, he's the one who saved Doctor Who. He's the reason Doctor Who can continue to exist, because any other TV show in history where you're literally just replacing the lead actor 4 seasons in, that's the death knell for any show. And inexplicably, Troughton makes it work. Like, Troughton's energy makes it work. Like, Power of the Daleks could have been the end of it, you know? But Troughton makes it work. And he continues to make the character compelling. Troughton is the reason Colin Baker has this job. The end.
So, Shockeye is preparing Perry for dinner and is interrupted by Chessini asking him to help prep 2 for surgery. And he's very annoyed about that. And as he's like loading two onto this like gurney, Chessini shoots him with something, knocking out Shockeye because they need his genetic material to turn him into an androgum. Why does she want him to be an androgum?
She's lonely.
She's got Shockeye.
She wants him to be an androgum, but not the way she is.
She wants an androgum at her level.
She wants an androgum Time Lord.
A time dragum. Because, you know, when you combine the Time Lords with other species, it always works out wonderfully.
Happened very recently. That's actually the best part of that episode.
Oh, no.
I love the Time Lord Cybermen.
We have such different opinions.
They're dumb as fuck,
They're
but I
the
love them.
dumbest thing in the whole world, and that's what makes them great.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's so dumb that, like, it is the one thing about that works. The Time Lord Cybermen are the only time I feel like Chris Chibnall gets, like, dumb, fun, exactly right. Nowhere else did he ever get that exactly right.
I love the idea. I hate the design of it.
Oh, I love the design.
It's the faces in particular.
Oh, I love them.
The design's great.
Just with the big stupid collars.
The collars are fantastic. It's their faces. It's solely the faces. I hate them.
I mean,
so
that's
much.
valid. I get that. Especially since I do hate a lot of Chibnall era design.
Chibnall era design isn't happening. There's a big phone, and the phone is phoning it in. Now, that's not a good joke, because I, like Chibnall, have phoned it in.
He's just like, I don't know, throw some teeth on it.
Chibnall era design feels like a show that's trying as hard as possible to not be camp. Like, it's so afraid that someone is going to laugh at it that it's like trying so hard to make monsters look scary and things look serious.
So, Six wakes Perry up by throwing water in her face. That wasn't just to wake her up, that's just how he always wakes her up. Six explains to Jamie that he didn't fix the time device, or he took something out of it so it won't work. Both the Sontarans are planning to betray the Androgums or whatever, as Chessini is planning to fuck over the Sontarans. So they're both getting ready to double cross each other.
I like your next note so much.
Shockeye breaks free and also frees the second Doctor. The second Doctor has eyebrows and is hungry.
That's it. That's the whole shtick.
He has eyebrows and Rice Krispies.
I will say everything from this point with 2 is fucking amazing.
It's ridiculous, and I love it.
It's so good.
This should have been the whole cereal.
I wish it was more of it. They want to eat some of the local food, and the Doctor's like, I know all about local restaurants, but we're gonna have to get fancy. So they get, like, these ridiculous long coats and top hats. And they're walking linked arm in arm.
They look like a political cartoon. Like, top hats and tails and grotesque faces.
They somehow look like a child's drawing of homeless people.
They look like something that would be scary in a David Lynch movie.
They look like characters from an 80s adaptation of a Roald Dahl novel.
Also racist.
Yeah, exactly.
And the dialogue is delightful, too. It's just saying food words, basically, as over the top and flamboyantly as possible.
And Patrick Troughton is so good at it.
He's having such a great time.
He's killing it.
Because Shockeye desperately wants to eat people, and the Doctor says something about shepherd pie. And they're like, oh, we can eat shepherds? Well, let's do that.
And the Doctor's like, no, we don't eat shepherds. But he's not poo-pooing the idea.
No.
There is sort of something interesting wherein, like, the Doctor spends this whole time being like, you can't, like, change a person. And augmenting Chessini isn't enough. But they, like, put Androgum in the Doctor and he's immediately like, no, never mind. I'm going to eat everything. I'm on board with the cannibalism. I'm on board with all of it. Let's eat food.
I think the implication there is that the Doctor has always wanted to eat people. And now he has a legit excuse. You can't change who a person is, but now I have big pink eyebrows. I do want to eat a shepherd.
My brain just went somewhere weird. It was a special feature on a Doctor Who DVD. I don't remember which one, but they were talking about food in it. It was all about food, and there was one guy who was like, I would really like to eat blood sausage made out of my own blood.
As the resident English person, no, you would not. No, just no.
You wouldn't do it?
No. No.
Okay, so that's specifically your blood. What if it was somebody else's blood? Would you be into it then?
Well, someone else's blood, then, yeah, that's a different question. But my own blood, no way, I'm not doing that. Bloody hell. Also, no, I hate blood pudding so much. It's the grossest.
Is blood pudding and blood sausage the same thing?
They're both variations on a theme, which is blood, and no thank you, .jpg. I don't need it. I'm not here for it.
You'd never make it as a vampire?
Hey, Mandy, would you eat something called blood sausage? Yeah. Mandy would. I don't want it.
Ask her if she'd eat blood sausage made of her own blood.
Okay, so the next question. Would you eat blood sausage made of your own blood?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's zero, it's just going back where it should be.
For those of you at home who didn't hear that, Mandy said, it's going back where it should be. Into your digestive tract?
It'll sort itself out.
Can I say, I relate to that. I, am very grossed out by other people's bodily fluids, but I am perfectly fine with mine.
Yeah, I'll pick my nose and eat it. I'm not going to pick someone else's.
So it makes you kind of a hypocrite with the blood sausage.
Yeah, I mean, you got to draw a line somewhere. And I'm going to draw that line in blood.
Ben would definitely eat snot sausage.
Provided it's my own snot. Oh,
Provided
God, that's gross. That's the thing that got me.
I'm going to edit the podcast, and that's the only thing that's going to be said in the entire thing.
It's just going to be opening theme, snot sausage, closing theme. I do want a special edit of the podcast that is just that, or I'll cry.
How do you feel about those bodily fluids? Would you
Tears?
ingest those? Yeah.
I mean, I drink my own tears all the time. Not on purpose, but, there's always a little bit of friendly fire when you're crying.
Oh, God. This is I have no idea where we are every single time I look at my notes. So, the Sixth Doctor sits back to watch the double cross. I think this is the first time we see the Sontarans' cool-ass weapons that they never get to use. They're just like giant blade guns. To me, they remind me sort of the axe scythe thing that Buffy has.
Are they blade guns? Are they like the guns from Farscape?
Yeah! Was it the Quelta blade or something?
The Quelta blade, yeah.
Yeah. It's a big gun, but also it has a big blade on it. It's very cool looking. They don't get to use them. They go into some cellar for some reason, and Chessini throws some bombs at them, and because it is this particular era of Doctor Who, they get all gooey. They melt and get gooey. Those potatoes are baked. Varl dies, and Stike just gets really fucked up, and just sort of bumbles around for the rest of the serial.
Covered in goo.
I'm just gonna run through what happens to Stike from here on out. He's like, I'm gonna escape in the time device. And then it's because the Doctor took the thing out, it just fucks him up even more. He's like, oh fuck, I'm gonna escape in my ship. But he forgot that he already told his minion to set it up to self-destruct, because he's like, we'll just blow everything up here and we'll leave in the time device. So he goes to his ship while half melting, and then his ship explodes, killing him.
This show really likes melting Sontarans, because the same thing happens in the Sontaran experiment, just slightly differently.
I like to think that this is Robert Holtz being like, you want Sontarans in this? Fine. This is how I feel about it. Fuck these potato assholes.
Okay, sorry, never mind. That's going to be the only thing said in this podcast is fuck those potato assholes. The only other scene involving Stike is Shockeye being like, hey, look what I found. And it's just his foot. That wraps up the whole Sontaran plotline.
Yay! The Sontarans had little to no impact on this narrative.
In the other plotline, everybody goes hunting for Shockeye and the Second Doctor, who are going out to eat. Chessini and Dastari are looking for them, as well as the Sixth Doctor, Jamie and Perry.
Is this the point where the Sixth Doctor starts getting a bit weird about food? He starts getting a little horny on main for the concept of consuming food?
Yeah, it happens shortly. There is a bit where Shockeye kills a man, and the Second Doctor is totally cool with that. He stabs a guy with a giant log, and they steal his truck. The Sixth Doctor shows up, and then that's when he starts going like, I feel like I'm starting to get hungry. This sight of a dead man has got me wanting some food. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, who hasn't looked at a corpse and thought, yeah, I could just go for something right now.
Thank God that blood isn't mine. Put it in a pudding.
So, Six, Perry, and Jamie track down Sixth Doctor says, this way, I think. And Perry says, how do you know? He says, it is me we're following. That's something I'm wondering about. Does he have these memories? Wouldn't he know?
I think he's more just being like, this is where I would go.
Yeah, it is very heavily implied by the end of the episode that the Sixth Doctor has no memory of this period of the Second Doctor's life, because the Second Doctor has that Statham remote control, and the Sixth Doctor covets that thing.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
But we can discuss that when we get there.
For now, there is a very unnecessary scene where I think it's a prostitute, throws the starry.
Is it a problem? I know, yeah, she just like waves at the starry. It's weird.
And she throws him a rose, and then he takes it to Chessini. That's the costume designer, by the way.
Ah, Seville.
She is wearing the outfit that the woman who plays Anita refused to wear. Like, they had an outfit for her, and she's like, I'm not wearing that. And so, in this scene, she is wearing that outfit, the costume designers. I don't know why they filmed this. What is the point of this scene?
She just wanted the costume to be in the show.
That's the only thing that makes any sense.
I don't know. I'm just going off the TARDIS wiki.
Just like, I worked really hard on this. I want to be in it. What if there's a scene where I wear it and I throw like a rose?
I guess so.
That makes me kind of like it. If that's what it is, that's cute.
But it has nothing to do with the episode at all.
Yeah, but she worked hard on that dress.
It has nothing to do with racism. So, Tu and Shockeye wind up at Oscar's restaurant. Shockeye says, do you serve humans here? And Oscar says, most of the time.
It's a fair and good answer.
Which I thought was a good joke, but then they kind of carried it out a little bit too far, because then he's like, no, I mean, like, do you eat humans here? He's like, that cuisine hasn't come this far.
They should have just left it.
It should have been comedic misunderstandings by good people on both sides.
And then Six tries to eat a cat.
As one does.
Who hasn't?
The Sixth Doctor says, as they say, there is more than one way to cook a cat, and then licks his lips. A lot of lip licking. Again, not the Sontarans, just other characters. Meanwhile, Shockeye and the Second Doctor run up a huge bill at this restaurant, completely shocking Oscar. He brings the bill, and Shockeye doesn't know what it is, eventually tries to pay with space money. And then he's like, we don't take this here. And he's like, fine, I'll just stab you. And then...
Yeah.
What I love about this, really quickly, is that Shockeye, it's like, what are they talking about? And then he says, oh, they want you to pay. And, like, he has money. So it's not like he's unfamiliar with the concept of money. He's just, like, surprised that, like, one has to pay for food.
Food should be free.
Which, like, you know, I guess that's the thing that the Androgams have. All food is free on Androgam.
Why wouldn't you eat anything? If it was free?
Exactly. However, the drinks do cost you.
Yeah, and they don't do free refills either. It's messed up. It's like going to a McDonald's in the UK. Like, if you want another cola, you have to pay for another cola. You're not getting a free refill.
What?
Yeah, the only place that does free refills in the UK is Subway.
I like Subway. There's more places to eat than fleas on a dog.
There are more places to eat in heaven than earth than are to be understood in your philosophy.
That's a line Jamie says, and then the Sixth Doctor says, dog? He just wants to eat all of your household pets. That's what you want to see the star of your show doing, just casually wanting to eat your pets.
Well, something similar happens in the season 2 premiere of Torchwood, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, where Captain John Hurt also is very excited at the prospect of dog, but not for eating. I mean, technically, maybe for eating in a euphemistic context. Horny on main for dog.
Shockeye stabs Oscar, and then everybody comes into the restaurant sort of at the same time, and we get a very long death scene.
Oscar gets so melodramatic.
I love Oscars. It's so melodramatic.
I laughed so hard this entire scene.
It's so funny.
He's like, no one will see my definitive take on Hamlet.
No, they will not, because you didn't have one.
I love it, because, like, I love how every other character is reacting dead serious.
That is the best thing.
Because, like, it's fair. A human being is dying, but also it's hysterical.
I already know what I want my last words to be. My last words will be, I'll just pop to the bathroom before I go.
What else does he says a bunch of stuff. He's like, most people...
I mean, he gives a whole monologue.
Yeah, he says most people just, when they don't like the food, they just don't leave a tip.
I'm very excited about when this season is eventually released on Blu-ray, because they put the scripts on the discs. All of the Blu-rays I have the scripts from them sitting on my hard drive because I copied them off the disc. And I'm very excited about reading this monologue on the page.
Right, because what I read on the TARDIS Wiki is that Robert Holmes did not like this scene the way it was filmed. He's like, it should be serious and sad, but the show made it funny.
That seems weird.
I'm like, well, everything he's saying is hilarious.
I don't know if it means like he thinks that they're playing it too broadly. Because like, it's a funny scene. There's no way he writes like comedy, like he knows what funny is. It seems like weird that he would not know that the scene was funny. Maybe he didn't want them to play it up so broadly. I don't know, but it does seem weird.
Well, I mean, one of the things you have to remember, this is easily one of the worst things that Robert Holmes has written for Doctor Who. It's still a fun script. It's still a fun adventure, but like, this was not something he wanted to write. This was, you have to do it. You're the only one who can write the Sontarans well. And so every word on the page is an act of defiance against Eric Soward and the Doctor Who production. And you also have to remember, this is the J&T period when they were very deliberately not hiring old writers. They were hiring new writers, untested writers. Time Lash is famously written by an ambulance driver. That's true.
You're going to enjoy that one.
Oh, yeah, you're going to have fun with Time Lash.
That's next, isn't it?
Oh, I can't wait to hear you talk about Time Lash.
Oh, my God.
Where this is concerned, like, this is an act of rebellion on the part of Robert Holmes. So I don't think he was going to be happy the way it was written at all, or the way it was performed at all, because the entire script is nonsense gibberish.
But with themes.
No, yeah, it is like a big sort of fuck you. It's like, no, I'm going to do all of this. It's this nonsense. This is what you get.
Oh, you want me to do 2 Doctors and Sontarans, huh? Well, the Sontarans are barely going to be in it, and the 2nd and 6th Doctor will not meet for more than half of it.
And then the second Doctor turns into an alien.
The second Doctor kind of becomes a villain for a little bit.
I'm going to give him Capaldi eyebrows. Don't know what those are? Stick around, find out.
You will.
As Oscar is dying, 2 reverts back because they had to do a second operation to make him to stabilize him, and they didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah, and if it didn't happen in time, so the problem is that Patrick Troughton as the Doctor as a character. I mean, this is not something we see about the Doctor in every incarnation. I think we do see it during Matt Smith's era, but he actually has skinny jeans.
And it's hard to do that with an androgon.
That's the dumbest joke.
Yeah, but you still laughed at it.
I did. I didn't say I didn't like it. Just said it was
You are
dumb.
complicit.
That's true, Joe. You're complicit in all of this. You're complicit in that joke. You're complicit in Jason Statham. You're complicit in all of it.
The only reason Jason Statham gets to hold court for as long as he does is you don't go, moving on! Jason Statham...
Moving on!
Jason Statham... No, I'm not done! Jason Statham... You're powerless. You can't stop me. Jason Statham could very well be the co-host of the podcast by the end of this episode.
Oh, I hope so. Really, I'm just looking for an out. So, Tony, it's you and Jason Statham.
What?
It's you and Jason Statham for the rest of the podcast.
It's me, it's Jason Statham. Tony, you want to do a practice run of what our introduction would sound like? Let's go. I'll go first. Hi, I'm Jason Statham.
Tony Heave.
And this is the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon.
I guess.
You gotta say something pithy.
I never do.
And then we'll go into the theme.
Incidentally, this reminds me, a friend of mine is like going through a bunch of old episodes of Rassilon. And there's an episode wherein Joe asked Tony who would post the podcast if Joe couldn't.
It's Jason Statham.
First, Tony says, well, it would probably be Chris Cherry. And then they say, well, actually, no, it would probably be a girl. And so, hi. This is all a long game.
Tony, I think you just foreshadowed this. The power of podcasting. You should make a prediction about Ben Paddon.
I predict that Ben Paddon will have a nice time. Just a real nice time.
That's not gonna happen.
I haven't had a nice time since 1998. I don't think that's likely.
Give me a prediction about me, Jason Statham. I'm Jason Statham.
I predict that he will die.
What? When and how? Give me an exact time.
Soon.
That's not exact enough. I need digits. I need a time zone. I need a geographical longitude and latitude.
I would say 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. my time.
What, today or?
Yeah, today.
That's 44 minutes away.
God, if Jason Statham died today...
How's that happen? What's the cause?
Yeah, how am I gonna die?
I mean, spoilers.
Yeah, we're asking for
it's-
spoilers.
We are
aware of
specific.
spoilers.
I want to stress we are explicitly consenting to spoilers in this specific incident. I'm okay with spoilers.
Everyone's looking at me and I hate it.
Technically, I'm looking at a computer monitor, so you're fine.
Well, I'll look away while you tell us how Jason Statham dies.
I'm going to make
I mean-
direct eye contact.
I think Ben murders you.
It seems very likely. They've had it in for me for years.
And that's why they have a nice time later. They're both directly related.
So you'll both have that to look forward to. Moving on! 2 reverts, 6 pretends to arrest him because he's still pretending to be a cop, and they all leave. 2 just has his hands down his pants, and his stomach is just hanging out because he's had too much to eat. And then they are all caught by Chesini. They all head back to the hacienda. Hacienda? How do you pronounce that?
Spanish for house.
Thank you.
Hacienda. Jason Statham's language school. It's hacienda.
Is that the only word you know?
I know other words.
Name 3.
I speak fluent French. Je ne comprends pas le français. Parlez-vous anglais? Je m'appelle Jason Statham.
Jason Statham. Can you tell me your favorite movie line that you've said in a film in French?
Je m'appelle Jason Statham. No, I don't know. I've been in a lot of movies.
Oh, why did Ben start talking for a second?
Ben, they wanted to let me know that they don't know any of my movies. They refuse to see them out of a sort of emotional support for the reasons I won't see them, on account of the fact that I am, as mentioned previously, Jason Statham. But I'm a real person. Favourite line from a Jason Statham movie, I'm being paid to punch and shoot people. But I think that one got cut because it wasn't scripted.
But that wasn't in French.
No, of course not. Nah, you think I do my own dubbing work, you mug? You muppet. They have a French Jason Statham to dub my movies. His name is Jacques Stephane.
Now that guy I'm a fan of.
Oh, he's the best in the business. He's also the official dubbing voice of Bill Murray.
I can see that. Similar voice
We
sounds.
have a very similar sort of cadence.
I want to hear your favorite Ghostbusters line.
Yes, it's true. This man is no dick. The flowers are still standing.
You know, it sounds exactly like Bill Murray.
It's word for word, beat for beat.
I will say the French version of Lost in Translation, I think that dub is better and I enjoy it more than the original audio, which is ironic.
I have similar feelings about the film being John Malkovich. When we're being someone who's not being voiced by John Malkovich, it suddenly takes on this weird metatextual kind of dimensionality that is not present. I also can't, mind you, when I'm watching it in French, I can't watch it with English subtitles because of my predilections. But it's fun to listen to.
This is wildly off the rails.
We're talking about a Sixth Doctor story. We're going to have to get off the rails in order to have any kind of fun. It's just occurred to me, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, Colin Baker's much better in audio. Like, the basic premise being, oh yes, Colin Baker is a much more enjoyable Doctor when you do not have to look at him.
Aww.
But I like looking. I like his.
He's
his.
a lovely person. He thinks my partner Mandy is a stripper.
Does he?
That's true. That's a true story.
Just the fact that Colin Baker thinks anything about you is fascinating.
It's pretty great.
Chesini tries to force the Doctor to fix the device because it clearly didn't work. It fried a potato.
It baked a potato.
So they make him fix it, and they're like, get in there and jack off a little. So he does, and they're like, to make sure that it works this time and you're not tricking us, we're going to have Perry test it. And then she comes out fine.
And then he's like, I only jerked off a little. Not enough.
There's enough semen in the machine to prime it for one little time travel experiment.
Just enough for Perry.
Just enough for Perry. Horrible. Awful. We're going to 8 separate, distinct, discrete hells.
So, Shockeye is, again, like, hey, I've spent all this damn time not eating humans. I ate a whole bunch of stuff, but I still haven't eaten any humans. Can I please just have a human? So Chessini says, you can have a little Jamie as a treat. So while they all go doing other stuff, Dastari very casually drops the key to their, like, it's 2 and 6 and Perry are all chained up, handcuffed. And, like, he puts the key, like, just out of reach. And then they do this whole, like,
yeah, there's a whole rigmarole with, like, a chair or something.
Yeah, it's the wheelchair, yeah. They're, like, rolling it around with their feet. They get the keys. They flip it to them. The Sixth Doctor gets out and throws the keys to 2 and runs out because he's going to go save Jamie from being eaten. Shockeye is tenderizing Jamie, tenderizing the meat. Would that fuck you up if you tenderized your own meat? Like, I feel like that's permanent damage.
I don't know.
No, that's just something that they tell you at church. It's not real.
They say if you do it too much, you'll go blind. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Tony said because it was very funny. I don't have a bit. That's a good bit, and let's just roll with that. It does also lean into the jizzing in a time machine aspect of it.
This is about racism. This is about vegetarianism. This is about jerking off. That's this themes.
It's about ethics in game journalism.
Themes. Themin.
He's tenderized Jamie, but before he can kill him, Chessini comes in and says, one of the Time Lords escaped and he needs to be caught and killed. And he's like, but I'm hungry. And she's like, I don't care. And then Dastari is also like, well, we can't kill a Time Lord. That would be bad. And Chessini's like, I don't care.
Almost a part of me that wants him to get to eat Jamie. Like, I feel bad for him.
Like, the way you felt when Jamie was like, didn't get to eat at the beginning of the serial, when he's like, 1 meal a day is enough. You're like, no, he needs to eat.
It's not enough. You need to eat.
You just get really upset when any television character doesn't get to eat.
Like, I hate it when they'll bring in, like, a sandwich and then a whole scene goes by and nobody eats the sandwich. And it's like, why'd you bring in the sandwich? This scene makes me feel the same way.
But Perry got to eat the banana.
Perry did get to eat the banana. That's true, and that's important.
The Sixth Doctor comes in, tries to free Jamie, but is caught by Shockeye. And Shockeye cuts his leg, and the Sixth Doctor runs off, and Shockeye gives chase. Like, the Doctor, like, bleeds on the, like, steps on the outside of the building. Shockeye runs up, and then she's like, go get him. And she just looks down at the puddle of blood, gets down on, like, all fours, sticks her hand in it, and then licks her hand as Dastari looks on, mortified.
She's gonna make a sausage later.
Or a pudding. So, clearly her androgyne nature has taken over. Then 6 conveniently finds the cyanide that Oscar had left when they went to go find the Epcot ball. Also the moth net, and like swings it over Shockeye's head, puts the cyanide up to his face, and kills Shockeye. After he kills him, he says, "You're just desserts."
That fucking infuriates me. If somebody kills me and then says a terrible pun, you need to avenge my death twice.
I like how this doesn't even, like, pretend like this was a difficult thing for the Doctor to do.
No.
He quips afterwards. Like
5 seconds earlier, he was almost an androgum, and now he's just killing him.
Yeah, it's a James Bond moment, but like a bad pastiche of a James Bond moment.
I liked it.
No, I like it though, but I think it's like, yeah, I think it's sort of interesting. Again, like, and he uses the same thing that Oscar uses. That, like, there's the sense of, like, you know, themin.
It's poetic justice.
Exactly.
Themin.
It's like, yeah, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Imagine if poetry... Now listen, imagine a world where poetry, get this right, rhymed. Yeah? Yeah, got you now, ain't I? Yeah. Like, if a poem had a line in it, and then the last word of the next line rhymed with the last word of the rhyme that preceded it.
The rhyme of this week is rhymes.
I'm twisting your melon, man.
Who's this guy?
I don't know. This person is Jeremy Poems.
That's a good thing you're not Jason Poems.
No, Jason's a different person with a different name. Let's not be silly.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, if you were a Jason Poems, that would be difficult because there's a whole thing about Jason on Jason violence that's happening right now. I saw a PSA about it. I talked to the PSA.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, one of them interactive PSAs. Yeah, I think I saw one of them about global warming. He said, the planet's on fire. And I said, no fucking way. And he went, yes fucking way. Anyway, recycle. And then I went back to watching Rugrats.
I bought one of those PSAs as an NFT.
NFT, of course, stands for no fucking tricycles. I didn't have a joke ready. I just waiting for it.
No fucking T word.
Never
fry turtles. You want to bake a turtle. You don't fry a turtle.
You want to make a soup out of it.
My motto for how I personally approach recording this podcast is NFT, which is never fucking try.
Tony, what do you think NFT stands for?
Neat, fun, Tony.
That is what it stands for.
Yeah.
Canon, and we know how we feel about canon. So Dastari is sent to kill the second Doctor, but he won't do it because he's like, I love them Time Lords too much. It'd be bad. Chessini, though, is mad that Dastari doesn't kill the second Doctor, so she kills Dastari. Then Jamie throws a knife at Chessini.
A knife!
And she tries to escape in the time device, but because there's not enough cum in it, it explodes.
I wish there were literally any other description that made sense. That makes more sense than what happens on the screen. And it's also not inaccurate.
That's what happens.
The thing about this ending is that, like, it undercuts any of the interesting things that they might be doing about racism by, like, really kind of upholding the sort of biological essentialism, being like, yep.
Right, which is what makes me think that this serial is a lot more interested in, besides being just a fuck you, I don't want to be doing this, which I've written essays like that. It seems a lot more interested in being like, yeah, nobody who eats meat is civilized.
Yeah, that was what Robert Holmes' whole thing was like, fuck meat eaters. I'm going to make my mark on Doctor Who canon by giving the second Doctor big eyebrows and making the sixth Doctor a vegetarian. And that'll last forever.
And, I mean, the vegetarian thing stuck.
Yeah.
The thing that's wild to me about the vegetarian thing is that Six is like, we're vegetarian. And Perry's like, okay. And he's like, I mean both of us. I'm in control of your diet.
Wait, so he's a vegetarian from here on out?
For the rest of the classic run and in a lot of the VNAs, the EDAs and the PDAs, which are the various novel ranges during the 90s and early noughties. Yes, in fact, the fact that the Doctor is a vegetarian is a plot point in the original novel of Human Nature.
So, and did they didn't get a Paul McCartney cameo out of it?
They didn't get a Paul McCartney cameo out of it, no.
That's what The Simpsons did. They made Lisa a vegetarian.
They edited almost all of that scene out because there are laws against advertising products in TV shows. So all the talk about Linda McCartney's microwavable meals got cut from the UK broadcast of that episode.
Wait, are you being is this about the Simpsons thing?
This is a fact. This is a true fact.
Oh.
Let me get my friend Jason Statham to back me up. Yes, it's true. A large part of that Quickie Mart rooftop scene was cut so as not to contravene rules about product placement on television shows. Goodbye.
Thank you, Jason.
You got about 10 minutes left.
Oh, no! I think I found a way to solve this problem. I'm just going to jizz inside of an IKEA cupboard, and then I can travel backwards in time and earn more life.
I'm going to wrap up this thing real quick because not much else happens. She falls out of the thing dead and reverts into an androgum. 2 whistles for his TARDIS, and everyone says their goodbyes. And then that's it.
And now the Doctor's a vegetarian.
That's basically it.
We have to talk
you
about the
want
remote.
to talk about the thing. You want to talk about the remote.
Because 2 has it and 6 is like, where did you get that? I want one. And presumably, he should have one.
No, he does not.
But 2 has
How
one.
does 2 have...
And this comes back to the thing I was speaking about earlier in this episode, which is obviously earlier this day, not a separate day, because this is definitely one big recording and not something that's split over 2 days due to a crisis. This episode is one of the pieces of evidence that leads to the fan concept of Season 6B, wherein the 6th Doctor, after being sentenced by the Time Lords at the end of the War Games, was sent on missions by the Time Lords prior to regenerating. And there's a lot of evidence to support it, including this adventure, the Stratahime remote control, the thing that the second Doctor says about Jamie and Victoria in the 5 Doctors, and the fact that we don't actually see the second Doctor regenerate on screen.
So wait, how does the remote tie in?
The remote is something that the Time Lords gave him because he's been sent on missions by them.
And then they presumably take it back.
Yeah, presumably they take it back, yeah.
I mean, they fuck with the TARDIS a bunch for the Third Doctor. Like, that's the whole thing of the Third Doctor. So, like, it makes sense.
And, okay, that's it. We're done.
We fucking did it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for final thoughts.
Time to grab your pillow and join the Geek Father and Little Bit for discussions on current, nostalgic, and speculative happenings in pop culture. Nerd news, fandom histories, deep dive discussions, reviews, and more. It's like listening to your closest friends have a nerdy conversation. So sit back, relax, and let the Blurred Nerds podcast embrace you with their warm, goofy goodness. It's Nerd Goals for your ear holes, right here on the ESO Network.
Hello, I'm Jason Statham, here to remind you to properly prime your time machines with enough Time Lord juice to get you through the time vortex and beyond. Using an inefficient or inconsistent or ineffective quantity of Gallifreyan semen may lead to disfigurement and death. I'm Jason Statham, and this has been my PSA. And now I've died.
And we're back. Tony, we do not have time for your bit.
That's fine. I was going to make a joke about how close it was to Jason
Statham?
Yeah. But no, it's time for final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I think The Two Doctors is stupid, inconsistent, ridiculous. It suffers from some purple prose when you get to the death of Oliver. It is definitely the weakest of the multi-Doctor adventures. It is the strongest story of the Colin Baker era.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It is when people ask me for like, well, can you recommend a story for each Doctor? This is the story I recommend, knowing it's bad, but I recommend it under the guise of it's not the worst, and you get extra Patrick Troughton. Like, that's really what it boils down to.
I mean, I would make an argument for Vengeance on Varos, but also, yeah, honestly.
Vengeance on Varos is, I think, conceptually the most interesting Sixth Doctor story, but like a lot of stories of this era, it is the execution that sells it short. And also, Eric Soward is a terrible script editor. Like, he should not be working on the show.
He's a terrible, terrible script editor, and he shouldn't have, yeah.
I'm going to go next, mostly because I don't have a lot to say. I think this serial spends 2/3 being stupid and boring, and 1/3 being stupid and really fun.
And it seems to vacillate between the two as well. Like, it's never consistently one or the other.
It's sloppy, and don't think it knows what it's doing, and then besides the fact that, like, when it's having fun, it's very good at it. And I don't really have that much to say beyond that.
Again, it's not good. And, like, I don't think it totally knows what it's doing. I think it's, like, definitely trying things. I respect the amount it's trying. And I do, like I said, I do think it's, like, the most thematically dense, like, multi-Doctor story. And it's muddled.
But it's got themes, like, Chibnall wrote them, almost. Where it's like, here's all the pieces, but I don't really have a message.
Yeah, it's not like putting it together in any sort of way. It's just like why it fails.
Yeah, when you look at the classic era multi-Doctor stories, this is the weakest in terms of like how much fun it is to watch, but it is the strongest in terms of like, unlike the 3 Doctors and the 5 Doctors, it is doing something.
Yeah, and I respect that. I'm more likely to watch this than the 5 Doctors. Just because, like, I respect that it's trying to do something. I don't like watching things that aren't trying to do something. And so, like, I have a certain fondness for it, but, like, it doesn't work. And like I said, like, it's a weird satire of racism that also manages to still be racist. And so, like, but yeah, the bits that are fun are fun. I think there's some good jokes. It is nice to see Patrick Troughton. And, like, I do like the way that it's finding things to do with the fact that there's 2 Doctors and, like, trying to, like, exploit that for, like, plot reasons. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, it is trying, and I like that. It doesn't succeed. I don't know if there's a version of it that can be good because, like, I don't know if there's a version of, like, this whole era that's good. Like, a good version of the story would have to have been script edited by someone who wasn't Eric Saward.
No, that's the fairest assessment. That is the kindest assessment of the 2 Doctors that I think you're going to get.
Yeah, if someone was working with Robert Holmes to make this thing better and not sabotaging it, and if Robert Holmes was not interested in, like, angrily sabotaging himself.
There's so much sabotage going on here because you got JNT who was hands-off when it comes to the narrative because it was just, we need scripts that can be produced. You've got Eric Soward who doesn't script edit because either the scripts are too good for him to touch, in his opinion, or beneath him, and so he refuses to do them. So he's not doing script editing. And you've got Robert Holmes, who is writing this script under duress, and so has written this kind of, like, high school rebellion essay, or, like, I don't get why we had to read, you know, Macbeth in English class. Here's what I think of your stupid system. Like, that's the level of writing you're getting from Robert Holmes on this occasion. And here's the thing, Robert Holmes rebelling is still better than, say, anything that Pip and Jane Baker want to throw at you. again, I think Christine's kind of hit the nail on the head with this one. There are interesting themes in this episode. Again, to steal something that you said a moment ago, Christine, theming is definitely it's the glue that binds this story together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are my final thoughts.
I agree with everything that's been said. I think also that just the first 2 episodes of this are kind of way more boring than the 3rd episode.
Yeah, all of the interesting stuff is in the bag. It's like going into a Toys R Us.
It's just a lot of setup and fluffing around.
Which is kind of like Caves of Androzani, too.
You know what actually it reminded me of? It reminded me of...
Black Orchid.
No, not Black Orchid. This is the opposite of Black Orchid.
Yeah, I think if you watch the first episode of Black Orchid and the last episode of the serial...
You got a good cereal. No, I think it also reminds me of Arc of Infinity, where Arc of Infinity just does bullshit for like most of it, and then at the last minute has when Omega turns into the Doctor, and then it's like somewhat interesting for like 10 minutes, and then it's over.
It's like, this is a premise that we could have done a thing with.
And they didn't do enough with it, and that's what I feel like the thing is with the 2 Doctors. Like, I would have liked to have seen more of 2 being an Andrew Gum. I think it'd be cool to see, like, Doctor versus Doctor for, like, a multi-Doctor.
Exactly. Like, yeah.
That would be kind of fun and interesting. Like, have him turn into an Andrew Gum at the beginning, and then, like, have it be where 6 has to, like, stop him and then save him or something. That would have, like, spread out the story over instead of just shoving the good stuff at the end.
I love the idea of a multi-Doctor story where one of the Doctors is the villain, and that almost happened with Terrence Dicks's like initial draft of the 5 Doctors before they found out Tom Baker wasn't going to do it, because Tom Baker was going to side with Barusa and be one of the villains of that story, which I think could have been interesting.
But yeah, that's our thoughts on the 4th Doctor, and we're done.
Sorry, my apologies, that was the wrong Baker.
Before we go, Christine, what you got to plug?
Listen to Burn Notice. Before this, I recorded 2 of those. So, like, you should listen to them. Beyond that, if you want to see anything else from me, just go on my website, thechrischerry.com. Follow me on Twitter. I'm very inconsistent in, like, the things I tweet about, and that's great, and I think you'll love that.
Ben, what do you got to plug?
Well, Doctor Who fans may be interested in the Doctor Who role-playing game actual play podcast that I'm the GM for, called The Game of Rassilon. You can find it in your podcasting apparatus of preference by searching for The Game of Rassilon or Doctor Who role-playing game, or you can just go to thegameofrassilon.com, or you can go to adventuresintimeand.space, or you can go to thedeath.zone. All of those URLs will take you to the Game of Rassilon. Also, my girlfriend Mandy and I recently started a podcast called Out on Her Fanny. We are watching the 90s sitcom The Nanny and going through each episode. We actually are recording an episode this evening. And episode 5 will have dropped by the time this episode... Actually, I think episode 5 and 6 will have dropped by the time that this episode of the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon is out. But yeah, we're watching The Nanny. If you have HBO Max, you can also watch The Nanny, which has the episodes up out of order, and then listen to our podcast to hear what we thought about it.
Nice. Tony.
It's Real Good TV is the new streaming home of The Unseen World. So that's at watch.itsrealgoodtv.com. It is available. It should be available now on everything. So it's available on
Android,
Roku and
Google
Android
Play.
and Google Play. The last time I checked, there was a bit of a delay in getting it on Apple stuff, but I think it is now. Please go and watch The Unseen World. There are 2 seasons, 22 episodes. Please go. You can rate it. That would
5
be
stars.
Yeah. Please go and rate it 5 stars. We get analytics on that, and so if you just want to leave it running, if you just want to loop my show in the background so that later I can go to my boss and be like, look at all the people who are watching my show, it's crazy. It's almost like I made all my friends loop it on their house in the background for continually for days.
You're just like Bitcoin mining, but just
Hey, do you remember when Oprah tweeted, everyone please watch OWN right now? And she got in trouble with the FCC?
Oh.
Yeah. It was like, what, 2011, 2012?
Nobody listens to this.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, check out The Unseen World. I put a lot of work into it. I think it's really good. You should watch the one about Frozen Dead Guy Days and Passaquan, because those are 2 of my favorites. But they're all good. And I think that's all I have to plug now. I've got stuff coming up, though. Multiple projects. So they're not real yet. I gotta do more work before I can plug them, so.
Including thinking of what they might be.
I just want to shout out a couple of things real quick. I'm writing articles for thedip.com. That's DIPP. There's a bunch of dumb stuff. There's some Doctor Who articles. I'm currently watching through every comic book media in existence, and I'm writing articles about that. You can check those out. It's the Comic Completist is that series. I'm also going to be on a podcast soon that I'm co-hosting called Legendary Forces, where we're going through all Star Wars media. That should be dropping soon. You can find it on social medias at Legendary Forces pretty much everywhere. I think that's all I've got. Am I forgetting anything? By Road Trippy. I wrote it with Christine and Ray Friesen. But if you like this episode of the podcast, you can check out more on Watch-A-Rassilon.com. If you'd like to help us out, you can leave a review on iTunes. Also, just go to Linktree/Watch-A-Thon. Linktree, that's linktr.ee/Watch-A-Thon. Everything is there. Our Patreon.
All our social media
All our
accounts.
social media. Links to every guest's website. All that stuff is there. Just go there. It's way more convenient. It's also the pinned tweet on our Twitter, which is Watch Your Ass, at Watch Your Ass. You can just go there and then see everything. And it's way easier than me saying all of the nonsense I say at the end of every episode.
Did Jason Statham have anything he wanted to plug?
I think Ben's supposed to plug Jason Statham, actually.
Hello, I'm Jason Statham. I would also like to plug Out on Her Fanny, a podcast about the nanny, which is made by my roommates Ben and Mandy. It's a very good podcast, and I, Jason Statham, definitely endorse it. I'm definitely Jason Statham, and no one's going to get sued. I'm Jason Statham.
We'll miss you, Jason.
I won't miss you. Not because of any specific dislike, I don't believe that death is the end. My soul is immortal.
And one last plug, I want to give a plug to Brenna Duncan, our newest Patreon patron. Check out her podcast at youtube.com/thebin podcast. Not going to say it this time.
Also follow me on Twitter at FWDPWR.
Follow me at Minty Pineapple.
I'm just at Ben Paddon.
B-E-N?
BenPaddon.
I also want to say special thanks to Matt Golden for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
Golden!
Check him out at MatthewGolden.net. And I want to give a special shout out to Vincent E.L. for providing us with our amazing theme song.
Thank you, Vince.
There's stuff at vincentel.bandcamp.com, and I know that because I just said that on my podcast recording.
Vince is the podcast theme god.
They certainly are.
And tune in next time when we talk about a fan favorite, apparently, Time Lash.
Oh boy. Oh wow. You are in for it.
I'm excited.
I'm scared.
Until next time, keep calm and wrestle on.
Goodbye, and I love you in a platonic parasocial way.
My heart is stopping. I can hear the clock on the wall. I'm dying. Oh, I'm Jason Statham. Oh.
Hey, Jason Statham that exists in the PSA. How are you doing?
I'm perfectly fine. I am unstuck from time. They tried to pick me up with a time scoop and I got stuck in the vortex. They're using an old promotional still from Crank 2 and a wibbly effect on a monitor to make me look like I'm present when actually I didn't want to participate.
That's the only time you've been relevant to Doctor Who.
It's a special called The Fast Doctors.
Stop! This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.